The release of the results would depend on President Uhuru Kenyatta's schedule, who must receive the results before they are released to the public. Over 1.2 million students sat the 2021 KCPE exams as compared to 1.1 million candidates in 2020. Now, Deputy President William Ruto now says allegations that he had hatched a plot to impeach President Uhuru Kenyatta after the 2017 general elections are just rumors and propaganda being spread by his opponents. Speaking in Malindi, the Deputy President stated that he has always done his duties diligently and thoughts of impeachment never crossed his mind. He pointed out that he helped President Uhuru Kenyatta get into office both in 2013 and 2017. The second-in-command emphasized that he was well aware of his place under the leadership of President Kenyatta, calling his accusers liars.
I want to ask our friends, please respect those of us who campaigned for Uhuru Kenyatta and made him president. Don't bring useless, empty propaganda, negative ethnicity, because you have no plan and you have no agenda, and because your project has been rejected by the people of Kenya. That is why you're so desperate. You are spreading falsehood and propaganda about people who wanted to do things that are unconstitutional against the government of Kenya.
Ruto was responding to the allegations that was said to have been made during a State House meeting that was attended by 3,000 elders from the Mount Kenya region. Sources claim that President Kenyatta told the meeting that Ruto went behind his back, talked to Odinga, scheming a plot to impeach him as the head of state.
As Deputy President, I know what I must do, and I will never, I have never, and I will never, and it has never happened that I could be part of anything that would bring down the government of Kenya. And those who are spreading those lies, shame on you. You deserve nothing but shame.
Still on matters politics, and Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga has pointed an accusing finger at Deputy President William Ruto for using public funds to campaign across the country. Odinga, while campaigning in Shinyalu, Kakamega in his day 3 tour in Western Kenya, stated that Ruto should shun hypocrisy by claiming that money set aside for development had been diverted to fund his political campaign. During his tour in Mombasa, Ruto said wheeler dealers have derailed the government's development agenda to advance their political interest. Ruto said he was disappointed by the move to divert funds meant for agriculture to fund the Jubilee Party campaigns. Odinga, in a rejoinder, scoffed at Ruto's sentiments, taunting that in his position as deputy president, he has siphoned funds for development. Now, the anti-narcotics agencies will now start using an amended law to nab drug traffickers and narcotic smugglers in a bid to end the country of increased cases of illicit drugs. This is after the Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Act was gazetted on March 7th, paving way for the implementation of the law. The law provides the framework for combating abuse of narcotics, drugs and psychotropic substances by issuing several penalties. Persons found to be manufacturing, possessing or transporting chemicals for unlawful production of a narcotic drug risks imprisonment for a term not less than 20 years. A Nairobi County Assembly Majority Leader Abdi Guyo will now run for the Isiolo governance seat in the August elections. Guyo ditched his bid for Embakasi Central MP seat and will now run for the gubernatorial seat using the Jubilee Party. The Nairobi County Assembly Majority Leader is assumed to be one of the top contenders for the seat, having been endorsed by the incumbent Governor Mohamed Kuti. Kuti dropped his re-election bid due to ill health. The 58-year-old governor has only served for one term and has been in active politics, having serving as Isiolo North MP for the 2 terms and 1 term as senator. And Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya has rallied farmers in support of reforms being implemented in the tea sector. Munya says the government has already injected billions of shillings into the Kenya Tea Development Agency to incentivize tea farming. He was speaking during the official opening of Nduragu Tea Factory in Gatundu South, where he revealed that farmers shall receive their full bonus payments before the end of July. And more than 3.8 million people have fled Ukraine since Russia's invasion a month ago, UN figures showed Sunday. But the flow of refugees has slowed down markedly. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM. Nyeri.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
No, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in Makueni?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, these resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel Nkericho, good morning.
Salama sana, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Seriousness Martin, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Seriousness Martin, Ainamoi.
Yes. Sasa ile juma nampambia yeye nini? Amalize aende. Asante sana.
That's it.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's Monday, it's raining. What do the streets look like today? Looks like it's starting to clog up already, really slowly on Jogger Road, getting out towards the city. Landys Road, as you get to the Kamkunji roundabout, we'll see some traffic there. We're also seeing something building up on the Mombasa Road, but not too terrible right now. Just around that Weybridge area, going then towards the SGR, but it shouldn't be too bad right now. Outer ring, dot of traffic as you're heading in a northerly direction, but it doesn't look too bad right now into the CBD, so you see a lot of action. We're seeing something happening on Langata Road. It looks like the Monday morning has started off well. It's wet on most roads, so you need to be extremely careful. Let's see what it looks like in about half hour or so, but it looks like we started Monday morning off right, and let's keep it just so. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. Let's keep things moving this Monday. So, iko happy, rat?
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the
All right.
Situation Room.
Hey, 9 minutes after 6. Good morning. It's the 28th day of March, 2022. City Muga.
Yes.
You're back.
Yes.
How you doing?
Fine. Fine.
No?
Yes.
I'm asking.
City, what's wrong?
With
Let me ask you in Yoruba, kilo shele, because English doesn't do it.
Well, actually, let me also answer you in Yoruba. Shele, I don't know.
Kilo de, kilo she.
Well, the she and the day may be equals, but I am well, thank you.
Out you.
Kilo ngapi umesema?
De.
Kilo de na
Kilo
she.
de.
So maybe now to hesabu na Yoruba. And de she.
Shele.
Shele.
Like
That's 1, 2, 3.
Shele. Haba.
So when there's shele, tosha.
And then 5 you've been told is haba.
No, Haba is Hausa.
See? Now we move from Yoruba to Hausa.
So haba is how many?
No, Haba is not. Haba is like, what's the Kiswahili equivalent of Haba?
Na haba hujaza kibaba.
Mba. Now that's Igbo. Mba is no in Igbo. I'll think about it.
Equivalent of Haba
It'll come later. It's like an exclamation. Haba, as in how can. Haba in Swahili would be what?
No. Salale.
Exactly. That's what it would be.
Hey.
How? Haba, Siti.
Yes.
Good morning, Abe.
Good morning. How are you doing, Ndo?
Fine, thank you. Good
How was your weekend?
It was all right.
Yeah.
It was hot, man.
Man. It was hot, man. Right? I went to Savo West.
You baked.
Too hot.
You're doing your little roundabout.
My usual.
You'll
things.
drive around.
Just get in the car and say,
No,
let's
it's
go.
not even drive around. It's drive about.
Drive about. You know how in Australia they do a walkabout?
Yes.
Eric Latiff.
Eric actually,
drive about.
actually, I've realized it's his thing.
It's his thing, yeah.
He gets in and figures this week, I want to follow this route.
He can even be going somewhere. Then he'll say,
And it's a very straight route.
This road is straight. Let's see what's at the end of this road.
So he goes around
Then
it.
he goes. He goes. Want you, if you're with him, he'll tell you, let's go. Beg, drop me here. You'll be going where you're going.
Yeah, it's just called, moving, going, because you're blessed with the ability to go. So I met someone who listens and tunes into our show, works at the KWS Southwest Kilaguni Gate. His name is Roy. It's like, Eric, say hello to your colleagues. So Roy says hi. Yeah, Roy is works at the customer service desk at KWS Southwest Gate. And they're very happy. 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 There's this one elephant with one tusk, and the other one is broken. They call it Meno Moja. It also said hi.
How exactly did it say hello? I'm curious.
See how they do? Trumpeting.
Oh, it trumpeted for you?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And I knew exactly what it says.
Oh, so.
Because there were guides there who were translating.
I'm sure there were. Okay.
Uwe mekusalimia huyu. Antuma salamu huyu, antuma salamu.
Looks like it was a weekend for greetings.
Yeah.
Who else greeted us?
I met a gentleman whose name I now forget, works for the Finnish embassy. That gentleman literally jumped out of the car, told me, Siti Muga, how are you? I smiled back and said, I am fine. And how are you doing? I had no clue who I was talking to.
Siti said to Siti, who is this?
Yes. He says, I know you don't know me, but I listen to your show every morning and sometimes I watch you.
Voila.
Says, you must say hello to your colleagues. Started off with Okoh, knew the names, and Eric Latiff.
Nice.
We are finished.
Yes. So I asked him, he said, no, I am a driver for the Finnish ambassador to this country. I said, that's really good. And I thanked him very much for watching the show. I will continue watching the show. And I thanked him.
Indeed. We don't take it for granted, guys.
Yes. Asanteni sana. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Today, we will have several conversations throughout the show. Number one, at 9 o'clock. So, a man went to the polls. Well, a man's name appeared on the ballot paper in West Pokot, alongside that of Professor John Lonyangapuo. And the whole idea was, can you vote for these two as a pair to come in as governor and deputy governor? The man's name was Dr. Nicholas Atudyang. They were elected. He was sworn in. They say he went back to Texas, Allen, Texas, where he had been living and working. And he has not been seen around for long since then. The man is back in the country. Hallelujah. And he says, I haven't been absent, I've been working.
In Texas?
Yes.
It's okay.
There is no assignment that Professor Lonyangapuo assigned to me that I did not deliver on. Ask him. You ask him, my boss. Okay? So, Dr. Atudyang, the West Pokot Deputy Governor, will be with us at 9 a.m. this morning, and he'll explain to us how exactly he was working from Allen, Texas, as a Deputy Governor of West Pokot. And let's get to understand whether he actually gets the things.
That name, do you know what it means? Atudyang.
Atudyang.
Atudo is a duck. Nyang.
Quack.
Yes, quack, 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 webbed feet. Okay. Nyang is a crocodile.
This is in which language?
A crocodile duck.
In the Luo.
In the Luo.
Atudo, duck. Nyang, crocodile.
Both,
so
they live in the water.
Yes. is a dark crocodile.
He's amphibian. Atudyang. So and then
again, kilo day.
what is happening? At 8 o'clock, we will be looking at President Uhuru Kenyatta's scorecard. So yeah, he is leaving office after the August 9th elections. When a new president is sworn in, Uhuru Kenyatta leaves office. So what is Uhuru Kenyatta's scorecard? What did he promise when he was campaigning in 2013? There were 3 U's: Uwezo, Uwazi, something else.
Usawa,
Uwezo, Uwazi. Did they deliver? They told us that they delivered in 2017. People voted them back in. Said Big Four. How far are we with the Big Four? And what else has he achieved? To give us the president's scorecard will be the president's spokesperson, Ednah Mararo from State House. She'll be with us at 8 a.m. Keep it here for that conversation. Okay? So, kama huyo uko umemiss hiyo. Hata miss sijui. Let's talk about COVID.
Okay. Let's talk about COVID. All right, let's start in Kenya, where we're looking at, 9 new cases in the country from a sample size of 3,572. That gives us a positivity rate of 0.3%. 0 recorded deaths yet again. I've been looking about 2 weeks running or so. 0 recorded deaths from COVID in terms of numbers, doing really well. I had a conversation with somebody over the weekend, and they said, look, you know what, where they are from, they said, look, we have to deal with COVID like it didn't exist on the continent. We're dealing with this thing like it didn't exist, and we're moving on. Now the world is suddenly opening up, and we're saying, okay, thank you for joining us, because we've been here for some time. Live with this thing and move on, essentially, is what a lot of countries are talking about now. But still, the World Health Organization is saying, in as much as we're seeing a steady decline of cases around the world, we need to be extremely careful, because decline, non-existent numbers in some countries, there are some countries that are bearing the brunt of this. Shanghai, huge city, going into lockdown for testing. Not for huge numbers of cases, but going into lockdown for testing as COVID surges. Financial hub of 26 million people has become a testing ground for China's zero COVID policy. So it's a financial hub, as we know. It says it will lock down the city in 2 stages to carry out COVID-19 testing over a 9-day period after it reported a new daily record for asymptomatic infections. Authorities said Sunday they would divide Shanghai into 2 for the exercise, using the Huangpu River that passes through the city as a guide. You've got to love these guys, isn't it? Districts to the east of the river and some to its west will be locked down and tested between March 28th, which is today, and April 1st. The remaining areas will be locked down and tested between the 1st and 5th of April. Public transport, including rail hailing services in these areas, will be suspended when they are in lockdown. The city government said on its official account, adding that unapproved vehicles will not be allowed on the roads. It also said all companies and factories will suspend manufacturing or work remotely during the lockdown, apart from those involved in offering public services or supplying food. The public is asked to support, understand, and cooperate with the city's epidemic prevention and control work, and participate in nucleic acid testing in an orderly manner.
26 billion people.
That's right.
In 2 days, one part of the river Huangpu. This is either Pushi or Pudong. Pudong lockdown.
Yep.
You do not leave the house.
Nope.
Obviously, it means that you do not also cross the river.
Exactly.
Stay on that side. Don't go to the band. Metro suspended. Buses suspended. Stay indoors.
Work from home. Everybody will work remotely. The only people we will allow on the roads are those who are supplying food. And we know who they are.
Yeah.
We know who they are. We know the routes that they use already. This is very interesting. They know the routes. They know who's supplying on a certain day because it's scheduled. They know who's supposed to be there. Should you not be on the schedule, my friend, you will not go. And this is not because people are dying like flies. No.
Asymptomatic cases detected.
You know, I have to ask this question. Huh? What is it that China and the West know about COVID that they haven't told us?
Why?
Because in the face of the lowering prevalences around the world, yes, there is the need to be alert. But the messaging that is coming from this country based on the adverse effects that they've had from COVID I'm asking the question again. What do they know about COVID that we don't know? Because the actions they are taking seems to be from a position of knowledge. This is not guesswork. They understand if we take chances with this disease, God alone knows what may happen. We've seen what could happen. Okay? What we are being told is, well, it does this respiratory system, blah, blah, blah. We got that one. We understood it. But our end of the pond, our end of the Pongdong River, the adverse effects that we've seen in the West and in China, in all honesty, we haven't experienced. Again, I ask the question, what do they know about this disease that they are not telling us?
Actually, even China, if you open that graph and you look at the number of deaths reported in China, what were they?
All right, so let's look. I mean, look, for the longest time, China was at 85,000 cases, right? For the longest time.
And those
you can't
are
even
cases.
find them on you can't even find them on the graph, so we have to now even search for them because normally they
China,
would pop up, right?
total number of deaths, 4,000.
Total number of deaths in China, 4,638. Total number of cases, 144,515. Recovered, 112,132. Really low.
The number of deaths in China are comparable to the number of deaths in Kenya.
Kenya has almost 6,000 deaths from COVID.
Precisely. And what is our population? What's the population of China?
Yeah, 1.3 billion in China.
Yes.
49 million in Kenya.
So statistically, their numbers are almost irrelevant.
Totally.
Insignificant. But they're taking this action. You ask another question. What is it that they see as the opportunity that COVID has provided for them to put into play something that ordinarily they wouldn't have been able to put into play if there was no COVID? Okay? Because it's everything I'm seeing and the reaction, the responses, it goes beyond the disease.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is, these are asymptomatic cases that have been detected. And how many cases? Not even many. For a city of 26 million people, how many cases are these?
And look, 1,076 cases in 30 days.
And they've said everybody stay at home.
Yeah.
Factories shut down.
Transport shut down.
26.
It doesn't matter.
This is the financial hub of the country.
Australia and New Zealand had similar practices, right? Should I say have? Again, doesn't it raise eyebrows? Don't you pause and ask yourself, okay, we get it. But so...
Do we really?
Yes. So what is it that you guys actually know that we don't know? Because every time there's a lull, there's a red herring. South Africa have incubated a new variant. Just when you're pausing, India have incubated. You say, wait. And you even give it a name. No, there's a complete to this one.
There's something else.
Yeah, it's something else.
Let's take a break on that note. 23 after 6. Are you online? We are on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter as well. Say hello to us. We'll be doing that roll call shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This nation has never healed genuinely from the 2008 violence. We've never had a healing process. We've swept it under the rug.
Let me tell you, the handshake was the most disastrous political event in the history of country after the coup attempt of 19...
It's raining in Nairobi. Still a bit warm though at 17. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 16 today. It's 15 and clear in Nakuru, highs of 26 and lows of 14. We'll see 13 as the low, which is what it currently is in Nyeri, highs of 25. 25 will also be the high in a clear Eldoret, currently at 15. That'll be today's low. It's raining in Mombasa at 27, highs of 34 and lows of 26. Also light rain experienced in Malindi at 28, highs of 33 and lows of 27 Monday. It's 21 degrees and mostly cloudy in Kisumu, highs of 29 and lows of 20, while mostly cloudy in Kakamega at 19. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 17. Out in Kampala, mostly clear for now at 19, highs of 26 and lows of 16, while it's a wet morning in Dar es Salaam at 26. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 25. Joburg, mostly cloudy this morning at 14, highs of 23 and lows of 12, while Lagos is cloudy at 28. We'll see highs of 34. Clear conditions at 24 in Kinshasa, highs of 34 today as well. Speaking of Beijing, it's 15 degrees and sunny going into afternoon Monday, highs of 18 and lows of 10. Paris this morning is cloudy at 6. 22 will be the high, coming down to lows of 5. Mostly cloudy conditions in London at 6. Highs of 17. And New York, 1 degree cloudy Sunday night. Coming into Monday, we'll see highs of 8 and still a bit chilly. Lows of -4.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Okay, who's online?
94.4 Spice FM.
He's happy that the lights are on. He says, good morning from Chalby Drive, where KPLC finally restored electricity late last night. Unscheduled power outage shortly after 12 p.m. screwed up an already fraught Sunday. Well, I'm glad that Monday has started a little bit better, Andrew. Welcome back, CT Muga. Jack Sangura says he's tuned in from Emuhaya this morning. Kiptai Kipdan is tuning from Kitale. Kahawa West locked, that's where Daniel is. Patrick Fikirini, habari za leo. Kume, kucha na makucha yake. All right. Okay. Wamai says he's tuned in from Eldoret in Nakuru City, well represented. Good morning, listening in from Kasarani. Kipruto Alex says, good morning. Amos Freeman tuned in from Kimilili. And Kev says, Nanyuki is online. The rains are back. Good morning, folks. Indeed, good morning to you. Robert Mbogo tuning from Mombasa. We see you all. Thanks for joining. Karibu.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. We are glad you're here with us. Mm-hmm.
Right. When I was last here, which was last week.
I gotta tell you, man.
Tell me.
Eric did it really well, and he had the right.
Super.
He did. It was fantastic.
Super.
If I had my eyes shut, I thought it was you.
Really? Okay. Eric, well done.
Asante.
Thank you very much. Asante sana. Right. When I was last here, we were interacting with proverbs from Chad.
Yes.
I haven't quite completed that particular arrangement, so I will proceed with it.
Okay.
This morning's proverb is as clear as daylight. Simple to understand, easy to interpret. If you walk down the same path, you'll go where you've already been.
If you walk down the same path, you'll go where you've already been.
Yes.
Wonder. Try new paths. Usiendu. Unasikia? Yeah. When I tell you, let's go this way. And discover what
this is in praise of adventurers.
Yeah.
The person who wants to go to Loitoktok, but he first of all goes to Savo. He'll tell you, Savo is actually just next door, literally. But it's a next door of many, many kilometers. Okay.
I'll be more adventurous in my life.
And once they're there, they figure, so this is the national park. And we just go in and see what the national park. And it's still,
still early.
Still
the
time.
road less traveled.
That's a good one. Okay, it's 6:30. Let's look at the newspaper headlines. Remember, www.standardmedia.co.ke. Some of the premium content online. There's a video of Oburu Odinga talking about the Odinga clan. Also his views on Uhuru, Ruto, Moses Kuria's cut remarks, and much more. You want to get that? Yes, www.standardmedia.co.ke. That. What are you looking at?
Well, I'm looking at education. In as much as we're hearing the deputy prime minister, the deputy president saying it wasn't me. Okay, KCSE ended, and candidates have until April 1st, Friday, to apply for courses. Last year, nearly 500,000 students who sat the KCSE examination were not placed in any university or college course. School principals urged to ensure all candidates' choices of courses is uploaded onto the system. Time is running out. for the more than 800,000 KCSE candidates sitting the examination to select courses they wish to study in universities and colleges. The Kenya University and Colleges Central Placement Service, well done, has set April 1st as the last day that all the candidates have to submit their degree and college selection details to the government. Chief Executive Officer of KUSIPS, Dr. Mercy Wahome, has urged school principals to ensure their candidates' choices of various degrees, diplomas, or certificate courses are uploaded into the agency's system. She said that more than half the schools had by last week uploaded the course application forms that the students filled out before the exam period. She noted that students will be given an opportunity to revise the courses once the results are released. She says we have vacancies in both government and private institutions for all the candidates sitting the exams. All. She said all. We do not have a shortage of colleges and universities. It is a requirement for all candidates sitting Form 4 examinations to apply to KUSIPS for courses they wish to study in universities and mid-level colleges. Secondary schools principals are expected to compile the students' choices for degree, diploma, certificate, and artisan courses and submit them to the placement agency through an online portal. All schools are therefore supposed to create an account where principals apply for students' placement to universities or colleges. Only the principals can submit the school's applications and not individual students. So it's basically saying before, when there was a problem in terms of space, there is space. Whether it is private, whether it is government, public, there is space for everybody. And saying, let's get on this thing, guys, and get people registered. 500,000 didn't get spots in time last year because they did not register in time. It would appear that what KUSIPS is trying to do is just to make sure that you have submitted something by the 1st of April. You can then come later and tell us you want to change.
But why doing it that way? I still feel that this thing is
rushed.
It's a flawed process. I think people should apply for university courses after the results are out. It's more realistic. Because you end up with people, okay, so I had applied, my first choice was this and the other, I did not hit the grade, I did not hit the mark. People just end up, those who end up in colleges, universities and colleges, not many of them, it's a small percentage that actually end up doing what they wanted to do in the first place.
Indeed.
And then, why do that?
Because
just tell people this is what you can get to do in college, but wait for the results. Because the results are what is going to determine whether KUSIPS actually places you.
Exactly. The same KUSIPS told us that the number of dropouts that we had compared to those who had enrolled for these courses was significant enough for them to be worried about it. Yeah. Like, why do you have so many people dropping out of a particular course down the line? Well, this is it. Perhaps they were not given ample time, not even a wherewithal, state of mind to say, this is what my selection ought to be, vis-a-vis the circumstances, such as exam results that you're talking about for now. There could have been other things happening at that time. Give it time, absolutely. But there's a rush to see.
Wait for the results to come out, and then now, once you have the results, you look, so what do these results actually get me?
What do they get me?
Now,
what can
do I want this? Do I want the other? Do I want the other? If you really have a passion for something, then you will go for, you'll be able to choose.
You know why that example makes sense, Eric? Is if you look at how it is people choose a higher qualification than the one they previously had. If someone has a diploma and they want a degree, the process that they go through in choosing is actually based on knowledge and experience. Meaning, you have a fairly clear idea of what you've been doing and what you then need to do. Now, why is it that you don't give people who perhaps don't have the experience and even better opportunity to sit and pause before they take that step? Because if you look at our job market is literally littered with people who studied, completed, got employed based on the course they're doing, but something which they don't really like, enjoy, or want. But it's a job that has to be done, so they do it.
Yep. There are very many people who, very many will make the application now, and then after the results, they'll be making applications to change from the courses that they've been admitted to.
Oh, guaranteed.
You've heard of expensive decisions where somebody finishes a course, then says, okay, folks, this is what you wanted me to do.
I've brought you your degree.
Here's the certificate. Now, let me go and do what I really wanted to do in the first place. Others don't have that luxury. They are in one particular discipline, and they're applying it, but you can see their interest is completely elsewhere.
Yep.
Now, there are those who argue for multitasking, but the truth is this. A person who wants to choose a particular course at a certain age, they may have an idea and a fondness for that particular discipline. But do they really understand what it is that discipline entails?
No, they don't. 24 minutes to 7. We should have this conversation again with Kusip soon.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Nimeshindaje press kompe sija participate. Unadai info yangu na ikwe private mse. Identity yangu haupati hautumi. Details zangu ni zangu na bado nitazishikilia.
Wazazi watoina mayouth wetu. Usidanganywe, erevuka na ujibambe na burudani safe na masomo mtandaoni.
For information, visit cop.ke-cirt.go.ke/ report incidents on ke-cirt.go.ke or call 0703 042 700. The Communications Authority of Kenya. Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako.
Morning, getting out into the city, really heavy around the SGR. That's coming up from the Weybridge, and then heading out into the city. A little bit of outbound traffic around the Maritime. I'm not quite sure what's causing that, but I can give you a guess. Construction is yet to be completed, and there's that part of the whole station that's being worked on, so the road then is a little bit narrower. Then it's raining, so, take your pick. Langata Road, also quite some getting to the roundabout at the Timor, but not too crazy. Railo Dinga Way, free and clear out towards Gong Road, and then you get into the city without too much of a headache. Jogo Road has some traffic, but again, just at the Makadara train station, and then after that, you should be able to be all right. We know there's going to pile up around Hamza and then heading out in a short while. Westlands is also starting to build up today. Let's look at that area. Then coming out from Wayaki Way, James Gishoro, and Riverside, that junction heading out towards Chiromo. Not blocked just yet, but we know that will build up. Thika Superhighway, good morning. All the way from Survey, beyond that, getting out towards the Pangani Underpass and coming off of Kiambu Road. That has already started to pile up this morning. We'll keep an eye on things for you, let you know what's going on in your neck. Let us know what's going on in your neck of the woods and we can spread the word. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings.
Okay,
right.
it's 20 minutes.
94.
City, what are you looking at?
I am looking at the Business Daily.
Look at it.
And what I am seeing is really mood-dampening news.
Oh, no.
Okay? Debt payments surpass state running expenses. If you're looking for elements of uniqueness in our country, this is one of them. Okay? Debt repayment will, for the first time, overtake the national government's recurrent spending on items like civil servant salaries under President Uhuru Kenyatta. Okay? Now, this one is not under President Uhuru Kenyatta. It's under his successor in the year starting July. Underlying the burden of mounting state borrowing. Treasury's chiefs project in the supplementary budget under parliamentary review that Kenya will spend 1.36 trillion annually on the year starting July for debt repayments of up to 1.15 trillion in the recurrent fiscal period. Meaning, after July, we're going to be spending more on debts. Okay? Right. The debt cost will run for the first time in Kenya's history. It will surpass the recurrent expenditure projected at 1.34 trillion in the coming year from the current 1.27 trillion. Why do I call it mood dampening? Okay? Figures are now being thrown at us, and they're in the trillions. Okay? It raises many questions, but I, as a layman, I ask myself the simple question: when we borrowed this money, in what denomination did we borrow it in? Because if we borrowed it in dollars, then this situation can only get worse.
Yep.
Indeed.
Not better.
Yep.
Because the moment the dollar does a thing and our shilling does a yo-yo, okay, we are back to factory settings.
Right.
Suddenly you owe more and you'll keep owing. So you actually ask yourself, will there be a breaking point at which we're actually able to manage this particular debt?
But you know what compounds it, that is that there is still exceedingly more borrowing. So even if interest rates change along the way, right? Even if exchange rates change along the way, you still find yourself paying more. But the problem that compounds it is that there's still more borrowing that's happening.
Now, at this point, you have to keep borrowing.
Yeah, you have to keep borrowing to maintain that because you don't have any extra. Everything else that you have as surplus is going towards facilitating these loans, right? And then you need to keep running. The only other option is for you to borrow.
You know, this pondering and pausing and thinking over things sometimes is useful. Now, let me tell you where my mind went on this particular matter, because I was thinking about it and today's the headline. This is what I was asking myself. Okay, we have been told we have borrowed money from the Chinese. We have also been told that the Chinese firms who work in Kenya. Up to that point, I say, okay, now, what I wondered was, are these organizations that are nestled and registered in China, and that's what makes them Chinese, or are they businesses that are owned by Chinese nationals or individuals within China lending to us? I think Eric has figured where I'm going with this.
Our debt is with either the Chinese government through the China Exim Bank, and so we owe the government of China.
Precisely. Now, if we owe the government...
part of the contract is that the job shall be done by a company that is fronted by the Chinese government, which will be a company that is owned and registered in China.
Eric, thank you for clarifying that. If we owe money to the Chinese government through their bank, Exim Bank, the question that I then have to ask myself is, do governments lend other governments at the exorbitant rates that we are told we are having to repay back these particular debts? Remember, there are those commercial loans.
Yes.
So did we borrow commercial money?
Commercial rates.
It says from the Chinese government. You see the question that I'm asking?
We borrowed from from Exim Bank,
but the
which
guarantor,
is a bank, but the guarantor is their government. Sasa loan yetu is a commercial loan. It's not a bilateral.
The reason why I also ask
bilateral long-term loan?
Yes.
Nah.
This thing when we rebased our economy and suddenly became a middle-income country, I keep being told, I don't see what the middle income is, but I'm told it exists, okay? There are countries which are not very far from China. There's one called Japan, who when they lend you money, do you know what you pay in terms of interest? Something like 0.2%. And they give you a moratorium of something like 10 years. 10! Before you start paying. 10! 1, 0.
Yes.
Okay? They aren't the only people who lend us money. But I'm also told that because we're a middle-income country, we do not have the leeway to borrow certain monies.
Yes.
Okay? So the question that then I ask is, did we need to rebase the economy so that, because we are the ones who did it, to get to the point where we can now be referred to as a middle-income country? What are the benefits that we are reaping from this being middle-income country?
So we went through commercial lending. We were now able to borrow commercially. For example, we floated the Eurobond.
Just stayed there at LC.
Look,
LC.
We can now
has
go
the country
to
changed
Eurobond.
because we are LCD or DCD?
LMC.
That one. Has it changed?
Things have
Things are worse.
Gotten worse, right? So what did it help by becoming lower middle income, upper middle, whatever?
Yes.
Has it really changed anything?
The whole understanding is that when you're in that particular position, your life ought to be better.
Indeed.
Okay? So the question I'm asking is, okay, COVID notwithstanding, this better, can someone point it out to me and tell me this is it, apart from us being better at borrowing more and more and more money?
Very simply
Which
put,
other better is this?
Very simply put, more money, more problems.
So we have more of something.
Yeah,
and in
more
this
of
instance,
something.
yes. But you do see where I'm going with this.
I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what it then leads me to think, the person who's going to take over this thing as president, man, this person has a problem.
Problems.
So you have to ask a question, is this person being set up?
See, they're setting themselves up.
They know what they're going to.
If somebody is seeking to be president and they don't understand the situation, leave them alone.
You know what it comes with, man.
They cannot blame somebody that they're being set up.
I didn't know.
Actually,
You left it
they
in a mess
know.
for me.
Actually,
They know.
The question that I am raising is not one which is nestled in the political games of it is so-and-so's fault wanted to impeach me. No, it's not that one. No, it is why have these people, all of them, gotten us into this rut that we are in? Because they got us into this rut. And the question is, did we need to be in this rut? My simple answer is no, we did not need to be in this rut.
Somehow they believe we can get out of it. Somehow, at the back of their minds.
Yeah, but they will get out of it because some of them will not be in power, so they'll have gotten out of it.
They believe that they can get out.
But the rest of us, are we really will we have gotten? Man, we're going to be in the thickest of it with every single passing day.
This is what it looks like.
There's a young girl who's been in the thick of it for a while, since October 5th last year. Okay? Stolen T-shirts have linked a 17-year-old girl to the murder of a 6-year-old girl in 2018 at Koronda slums in Nakuru West Sub-County. The teenager, who was at that time 13 years old, is said to have set the deceased ablaze after having a disagreement with a 6-year-old girl's mother over the alleged stolen T-shirts and 4,000 shillings. Judy Nyakera, the investigating officer, says the deceased girl was collateral damage in a dispute between the teenager and the girl's mother that occurred in 2018. The cop says that according to the deceased girl's mother, whoever had the T-shirts stole the money and killed the girl. The teenager was put on her defense on October 5th last year and testified before Nakuru High Court Judge Justice Hilary Chemitei, admitting she was in possession of the T-shirts. In defense, however, says she denied stealing the T-shirts, claiming that they were mistakenly placed in her elder sister's house where she was staying. Are we together so far?
So far, we are together.
Okay. She told the court that she heard rumors that the deceased mother had been telling neighbors that she had stolen the T-shirts and 4,000 shillings. The girl claims that at the time the alleged money was stolen, she was not around, adding that she never went to the woman's house. Further, the girl denies claims that she was behind the girl's murder, citing that together with her sister, they heard strange noises coming from the woman's house, only to find a child burning inside a neighbor's house, trying to rescue her. However, investigations have revealed that around 2 p.m., the teenager allegedly went to the deceased girl's home, found 3 children, ordered one to the ground, tied the girl to a chair, poured paraffin on her and set her ablaze. Several witnesses have testified, saying that the teenager tied the girl's hands and legs on a chair with a rope. Dr. Titus Ngulungu, a pathologist, has confirmed that the girl had suffered 60% burns. So here is a very convoluted story. There's a woman. This woman has a 6-year-old child. The woman claims that somebody has stolen her T-shirts and 4,000 shillings. She apparently tells people, so and so have stolen my money and they have stolen my T-shirts. So and so and her big sister. Now it's alleged that this 13-year-old girl went and tied a 6-year-old girl, poured paraffin on her and set her ablaze on account of your mother is accusing me of stealing. This is a 13-year-old child.
But she went and tied this 6-year-old girl saying, my mother's stuff is missing. It is you who has stolen.
No. The girl who is being tied is the one whose mother has lost 4,000 shillings.
Oh, so the accuser...
The accuser is a woman who has a 6-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
She's accusing a 13-year-old child of stealing from her. The 13-year-old child hears it from the neighbors. So and so and so. Gets angry, goes and sets ablaze. This is the allegation. Girl says, yes, the T-shirts are in my sister's house. But those T-shirts were brought here to my sister's house. I did not steal them. Woman claims, whoever you find with the T-shirts, that is the person who killed my daughter. Wow. What's that story?
It's crazy, though.
There are people who've come to court and testified that, yes, this 13-year-old girl tied the 6-year-old and set her ablaze.
And they were witness to all this. And what were they doing?
Why were they in that area to have seen this?
Unless you say that even the witnesses are minors. Remember, the allegation here is that there were 3 children who were playing.
Yeah.
This girl comes and orders one to kneel down, ties her to a chair, pours paraffin, sets her ablaze. People must have seen.
For sure.
And then people reacted now to, oh my goodness, there is somebody on fire. So neighbors came. Neighbors must have asked, what happened? What happened? Obviously, the other children must have said something.
Strange.
You know, worst case scenario you're talking about, if this 13-year-old child is really culpable, this is not even a sociopath, this is a psychopath.
For crying out loud.
Now, extreme case scenario, but if you then want to understand what is going on here, there are too many loose ends to this story. T-shirts from where? 4,000 where? How does somebody steal the 4,000? Where was the 4,000?
Where was it? Was it
so
in your
many
house? How did she get into your house? Was it unknown?
There are very
What
many.
is the connection between the 13-year-old and this woman?
And what really is the issue here? Because there are so many unanswered questions to this whole thing that after listening to it, I'm thinking I'm left even more puzzled than when we actually started.
Yeah, and it's a girl in the docks. Is she been charged now?
Yep. She was put on her defense on the 5th of October last year. She's now 17. She was 13 then.
Now, give it a year when she's 18. You know, that course will take a very interesting turn.
Yeah. It's very strange, this one.
You know, this isn't a case similar to the one of Nairobi girls, where what the child did is known. Okay? The reasons may follow, but what was done is known.
Yeah.
And people died. Yeah. This one, where do you even start? The questions that you ask remain unanswered. So how do you even take a position and figure out what is really going on?
This is exactly what happened.
Yes.
This particular investigating officer, Judy Nyakera, you know, when she went to court and said, the deceased girl was collateral damage. There was dispute between this woman and this 13-year-old child. There's a dispute here. But it must have gone to such a sustained degree of accusations and counter-accusations for this girl to get to a point where she snaps. Because...
But this 13-year-old lived with her sister.
Yes.
Who was clearly older. How does a 13-year-old get into an altercation with an adult? Just explain that to me.
That's what I'm asking. What is the connection between this 13-year-old girl
13.
and this woman?
How?
13-year-old girl was not living on her own.
She lived with her sister.
This is it. Who, like you're saying, must have been older. Who are the people in that area?
Who are the
How
neighbors?
was the mother bold enough to say that where you will find the T-shirts is the person who killed my daughter? It's something unknown.
Do think about it.
Yeah.
A grown-up woman with a child getting in an altercation with a 13-year-old. How do you get to that point?
What's the connection between them? What's the connection?
A 13-year-old? No.
There's something more.
There's something more that's not.
It's not about the 4,000 shillings. There's something.
It isn't about the T-shirt. It is about this woman. It's about this girl's older sister. It's many things.
Yep.
But like
and
with
the
most,
neighbors.
And the neighbors.
It's very odd.
Yep.
Counties. How does it sound for a number? 128.9 billion shillings arrears. Pending bills continue to haunt county governments, with Nairobi topping the list of counties with the highest debt. A review of the first half financial year 2021-2022 county government budget implementation report revealed county governments failed to settle pending bills despite preparing a payment plan to settle all the bills at the beginning of the financial year 2021-2022. The report reveals outstanding pending bills at 128.9 billion shillings as of December 31, 2021. Nairobi, Kiambu, Mombasa, Wajir, Machakos and Tana River are amongst the counties with the highest level of pending bills at 84 billion, 5.1 billion, 4.2 billion, 3.8 billion, 2.8 billion and 2.4 billion respectively. Control of Budget Margaret Nyakango in the report said during the period under review, the county governments reported payments amounting to 11.2 billion shillings towards pending bills out of the self-reported stock of pending bills of 140 billion. She's advised county governments to prioritize payment of pending bills in the budget before embarking on new financial commitments. Well, it would make sense, you think, right? Baringo County's pending bills, for example, amounted to 195.27 million shillings and comprised of 19.93 million for recurrent expenditure and 175 for development expenditure. That's one example. They had prepared and submitted a payment plan to settle the pending bills in the financial year. During the period under review, pending bills amounting to 191 million were settled, consisting of 19.9 for recurrent expenditure. Outstanding pending bills as of December were 3.8 million. And it goes on to talk about different counties and what they have. But the question is, according to the controller, she's saying, folks, we agreed. You have these pending bills. Your monies have come in. You have a payment plan for settling. Do it. But apparently, it has not been done, and counties are stifling in debt.
What exactly is happening in terms of counties pending bills? Because this is a conversation. The president says, pending bills, let's
settle
be paid.
Your bills, guys.
They meet with the Council of Governors. They say, okay, pending bills will be paid. Still, it doesn't.
Nothing. And we're not talking
budget.
Yeah, we're talking about big numbers here. We're looking at the least is probably this example is Garissa County with 0.9 billion. Goes as high as Migori, 807 million. Nairobi, Nairobi, yeah. What did we look at for Nairobi? 128. Sure, I mean, we're looking at high numbers here.
It's a lot of money.
I'm sorry, not 128, 84 billion shillings, Nairobi, pending bills.
It's a lot of money. When you hear 84 billion shillings, just know that's somebody who has worked and not gotten paid. Let's close the hour with this story. It's a bizarre story. There's a time last year when we talked about an accident happening in an industrial area at a steel factory. Somebody fell into a boiler, died, right? Similar case has happened on Friday in Thika at a company called Blue Nile Rolling Mills. A man who had worked there for 7 years, is a 25-year-old man called Caleb Otieno, reportedly fell into a boiler at the Blue Nile Rolling Mills Limited while on duty in an accident that has shocked his workmate, his family and his friends. Man was working, man fell into a boiler. It is a steel plant. He was liquefied, basically. Now, people are wondering, how? How did this accident happen? The company is not willing to tell us what happened or own up and take responsibility, as our brother died within their factory. Nothing official has come from his employer, according to John Agwambo, a brother. Blue Nile are steel manufacturers, and they recently announced that they had received 862 million shillings from IFC to expand their plant in Thika, Kiambu County. Man fell, and that was it.
And nobody's taking responsibility for this.
Well, Blue Nile is not, according to the brother, Blue Nile is not talking to them or responding. But many questions will emerge out of this. Anyway, let's talk more in the next hour coming up. More conversations, looking at what else is making headlines after the weekend. This is Kenya's biggest conversation at 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The 1.2 million candidates who signed for their 2021 KCPE exams will know their results this week. Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha last week announced that the marking exercise had been completed and the results would be officially released either today or tomorrow. Muga said the release of the results would depend on President Uhuru Kenyatta's schedule, who must receive the results before they are released to the public. Over 1.2 million students sat the 2021 KCPE exams as compared to 1.1 million candidates in 2020. Now, Deputy President William Ruto now says allegations that he had hatched a plot to impeach President Uhuru Kenyatta of the 2017 general election are just rumors and propaganda being spread by his opponents. Speaking in Malindi, the Deputy President stated that he has always done his duties diligently and thoughts of impeachment never crossed his mind. He pointed out that he helped President Kenyatta get into office both in 2013 and 2017. The second-in-command emphasized that he was well aware of his place under the leadership of President Kenyatta, calling his accusers liars.
I want to ask our friends, please respect those of us who campaigned for Uhuru Kenyatta and made him president. Don't bring useless, empty propaganda, negative ethnicity, because you have no plan and you have no agenda, and because your project has been rejected by the people of Kenya. That is why you're so desperate. You are spreading falsehood and propaganda about people who wanted to do things that are unconstitutional against the government of Kenya.
Ruto was responding to the allegations that were said to have been made during a State House meeting that was attended by 3,000 elders from the Mount Kenya region. Sources claim that President Kenyatta told the meeting that Ruto went behind his back, talked to Odinga, scheming a plot to impeach him as the head of state.
As Deputy President, I know what I must do, and I will never, I have never, and I will never, and it has never happened that I could be part of anything that would bring down the government of Kenya. And those who are spreading those lies, shame on you. You deserve nothing but shame.
Meanwhile, Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga has pointed an accusing finger at Deputy President William Ruto for using public funds to campaign across the country. Odinga, while campaigning in Chinyalu, Kakamega County, stated that Ruto should shun hypocrisy by claiming that money set aside for development had been diverted to fund his political campaign. During his tour in Mombasa, Ruto said wheeler dealers have derailed the government's development agenda to advance their political interest. Ruto said he was disappointed by the move to divert funds meant for agriculture to fund the Jubilee Party campaigns. Odinga, in a rejoinder, scoffed at Ruto's sentiments, taunting that in his position as Deputy President, he has siphoned funds for development. Now, Nairobi County Assembly Majority Leader Abdi Guyo will now run for the Isiolo governor's seat in the August elections. Guyo ditched his bid for Embakasi Central MP seat and will now run for the gubernatorial seat using the Jubilee Party. The Nairobi County Assembly Majority Leader is assumed to be one of the top contenders for the seat, having been endorsed by the incumbent Governor Mohammed Koti. Koti dropped his re-election bid due to ill health. The 58-year-old governor has only served for one term and has been in active politics, having served as Isiolo North MP for 2 terms and 1 term as senator. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya has rallied farmers in support of reforms being implemented in the tea sector. Munya says the government has already injected billions of shillings into the Kenya Tea Development Agency to incentivize tea farming. He was speaking during the official opening of Ndarugu Tea Factory in Gatundu South, where he revealed that farmers shall receive their full bonus payments before the end of July. Now, the anti-narcotics agencies will now start using an amended law to nab drug traffickers and narcotic smugglers in a bid to end the increased cases of illicit drugs. This is after the Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Act was gazetted on March 7th, paving way for the implementation of the law. The law provides the framework for combating abuse of narcotics, drugs and psychotropic substances by issuing several penalties. Persons found to be manufacturing, possessing or transporting chemicals for unlawful production of a narcotic drug risks imprisonment for a term not less than 20 years. And finally, more than 3.8 million people have fled Ukraine since Russia's invasion a month ago, but the flow of refugees has slowed down markedly. The UN Refugee Agency UNHCR said 3,821,049 Ukrainians had fled the country, an increase of 48,450. Around 90% of them are women and children. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Acero. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
At a few minutes after 7 o'clock, and we have quite the traffic that has built up over the last half hour. Quite some on the Thika Superhighway today, and we have it sailing all the way beyond. Okay, I don't even know where this is. I think we're heading into Kiambu County now with this traffic. Really way into that turnoff going towards Thika Town. All right, so we're looking also at Kiambu Road today, and that's quite heavy as well. The rain is compounding issues this morning. Folks are moving a lot slower, which we should with the road so slippery this morning. We're also looking at coming off Waiaki Way and some traffic. It's building up on Chiroma as we suspected it would, and that looks like it's going to build up some as you get towards Wangari Mathai Way. Coming off Langata Road, that's also something we're looking at now, and Mombasa Road as well. In and outbound at Imara Daima, it's going to slow down considerably, guys. So we've got to remember that I believe it's the last toll station at that particular area is being constructed now. It's narrowed the roads a little bit, so we will see extended traffic in that area. Outer Ring, the Eastern Bypass, chocker blocked. We're looking at back-to-back in and outbound traffic on the Eastern Bypass as well. It's that hour. 'Tis the time. Let's take a look in about half an hour and see what it looks like. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter as best we can. Let's keep things moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the
8 minutes after 7 on the 28th of March 2022. Welcome to the final week of March. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. The rains are here in several parts of the country. In some parts, they are still waiting for the rain to come. It has drizzled overnight in Nairobi, but that's a good thing. Time for the proverb.
If you always walk down the same path, you'll go where you've already been.
If you always walk down the same path, you'll go where you've already been.
Yes.
Cannot do the same thing and expect different results.
Well, you can expect if you wish, but you will not get different results.
You can expect.
That is your prerogative.
Walk down the same path.
The path you always walk on, expect different results. The thing is, the results will be the same. You will be traveling on a road you've traveled on before. Yes. That's the certainty.
If it is Mlolongo, you'll find Mlolongo just where it was the last time.
Exactly. Same spot.
Same
spot.
Okay. Now, there's something that's come out of the courts, and it's given some good coverage on the Nation and the Standard as well. The Standard headline, landmark case on abortion now hands women and doctors a lifeline. Judgment reopens debate on when life begins and what circumstances can lead to a woman to terminating a pregnancy. After a judge says that there are gaps in the law on terminating pregnancies that need to be sealed. Nation headline, huge victory for girl and medic in court decision on abortion. The High Court has directed Parliament to enact a law on termination of pregnancy and a public policy framework for exceptions as stipulated in the Constitution. Justice Reuben Nyakundi made the order after declaring that the right to abortion is fundamental under the Constitution, though not absolute. He said, "In my opinion, there exists a direct link between a woman's decision to terminate a pregnancy with a constitutional right to privacy, since the matter concerning abortion should be left primarily to the woman who who in any circumstances, instructive of the spirit of the Constitution, bears the greatest responsibility should she decide to keep or terminate pregnancy. That's to say, the woman should have the choice and ultimate decision carefully explored by a trained medical provider as to whether to terminate the pregnancy or to continue with the same. This is the ultimate exercise and enjoyment of the freedom of choice and the right to privacy. The judgment is a major score for women, girls, and healthcare providers. Evelyn Opondo, Senior Research Director for Africa at the Center for Reproductive Rights, says today's victory is for all women and girls. Now, that is that. But the background of this is an 18-year-old girl, codenamed PAK, will go down in history for winning a landmark case on abortion and setting a precedent. The judgment now forces the government back to the drawing board to determine when a woman can procure an abortion. 4 years ago, PAK and Salim Mohammed, who is a clinician, were charged with procuring an abortion. The state slapped Mohammed with a second count of issuing unknown drugs to procure an abortion. But High Court Judge Ruben Nyakundi has quashed the charges against the two in a landmark judgment that will have an implication on cases against women. He says there are sections of the Penal Code that do not go consistently with the Constitution. 158, 159, 160. And these are the ones in the Penal Code that deal with abortion. 158 says, a person who, with intent to procure miscarriage of a woman, whether she is or is not with child, unlawfully administers to her or causes her to take any poison or other noxious thing, or uses any force of any kind, or uses any other means whatsoever, is guilty of a felony and is liable to imprisonment of 14 years. This is somebody who leads a woman to get an abortion. In this particular case, clinician. 159. Any woman who, being with child or with intent to procure her own miscarriage, unlawfully does all those things, is liable to 7 years. A woman who, bearing a child, knowing that they are carrying a child, goes ahead and gets a miscarriage and abortion, 7. 160 says anybody who supplies any of these two with a medicine or equipment
that would induce
abortion, liable. Those are the 3. But the judge says, you see, guys, the matter of abortion and life is in the Constitution. If we go with this, because this does not actually talk about in the event a doctor thinks that the life of a woman is in danger and the woman consents to this happening, these penal code sections do not deal with that. So it just gives some gray area here. This says anybody, as long as this person is before me, I should jail them. But the Constitution says that there are circumstances that can lead to an abortion.
So in this case, then what would they go with, the supreme law being the Constitution?
Yep.
Yeah, not the Penal Code. Then.
Yep.
They would not go then with the tenets of the Penal Code, but that would use the Constitution as the overarching law.
Yeah, but now you need supplementary legislation to give the regulations and the policy. So at what point does a medical officer determine that a woman's life is in danger?
It's in danger.
That now needs to be defined. And then what's the process? Does the woman have to consent, or is it just the medical professional deciding that your life is in danger and then going ahead?
I do agree that it's extremely ambiguous, because the medical profession on its own is one through which we often get second opinion, isn't it? That a medical officer, for example, can say, well, in my opinion, I felt that this woman's life was in danger. Another one of different opinion would say, well, maybe there's something we could have done. So then which do you go with? So I do think it needs to be very clear here, because if I'm going to procure, for example, and this doctor is going to say something that is in my favor, then for sure I'm going to go with what they say.
Yep.
And who am I to doubt the medical expertise of this individual?
Listen to the history of this case. The judgment stemmed from a case filed on November 2020 by a 16-year-old girl from Kilifi County. The minor, identified as PAK, experienced pregnancy complications and sought medical care at a nearby clinic where a trained clinical officer attended to her Upon examining her, the clinical officer determined that she had lost a pregnancy and proceeded to provide her with the needed care. But while she was still receiving treatment at the facility, police officers stormed the clinic, confiscated PAK's treatment records, and arrested her along with the clinical officer. Okay? So girl has gone to hospital. A doctor says, girl came here, examined her, realized she's already lost the pregnancy. So I embarked on treating her. Now, post the loss of the pregnancy. Cops storm in. They grab both of them. They grab the medical records. They were taken to Ganza Police Patrol Base, where PAK could not access further medical care for 2 days, and she was forced to sign a statement, contrary to her description of what had happened. The police also forced her to undergo another medical examination at Kilifi County Hospital to obtain evidence to prove an alleged offence of abortion. The clinical officer was detained for 1 week. PAK was remanded for more than a month as she sought to secure bail for her release. The judge quashed her prosecution after finding that the charges and proceedings were unfounded, as there was no strong evidence that the abortion was conducted outside the threshold of the Constitution. Additionally, the court found that private communication between a patient and a healthcare provider is guaranteed and protected under the Constitution and other enabling laws, save for where the disclosure is consented to by the patient or is in the public interest, with limitation as provided for in the Constitution. The judge further found that PAK was recovering from a medical procedure, and police did not have the medical qualifications to determine whether she was in a condition to leave the clinic, regardless of her admission status.
So the police, according to this, should not have intervened in that situation.
Yep. There's nothing that has been brought here that proves to me that this doctor procured an abortion, went ahead and did an abortion on this girl.
Yeah.
That this girl had gone there to seek an abortion. Nothing. Okay? Now, you are telling me A, B, C, D. Are you a doctor? What this doctor and this patient were discussing is protected. Unless the patient wants to release this information or unless it's in public interest.
We're not touching it.
Now, but then he went further and said, anyway, there are no guidelines on how do we determine the threshold that's been set in the Constitution. If indeed that this woman went to a healthcare facility and found a clinical officer, qualified medical practitioner determines that what life is in danger, you is in danger. Let's go ahead and do an abortion.
Terminate, yeah.
How do we know that?
It's got to be, and this is a thing. But there seems to be, for as long as this conversation has been in the public eye, I believe there has been a reluctance to streamline this thing. There has been reluctance because what that does is that once you streamline it, you have a position, and the position is clear. And that means that you will then be able to apply the law, saying that this is what we regard from 1 to 10 or from 11 to 20. This is what we recognize. This is what we will not allow. And I think there's been a reluctance to have those clean lines on this abortion thing because the conversation has been so emotional. It has been so wrapped up in a lot of controversy. It has been on religious lines. It has been on cultural lines. It has been on moral lines. And nobody wants to, in my opinion, nobody wants to be the one that is going to draw the line and say, it is within these lines we shall color. Out of these lines, you're breaking the law or are going to allow 1, 2, 3. There has been a reluctance to remove the ambiguity because what that means is that you will have to take a position. And I see that nobody wants to take a position. Let's take a position on this.
In 2010, when we went to the Constitution referendum, there were 8,807,000 people who participated in that referendum. A whole 2.79 million voted no against that referendum. That's a 31% of those who voted in the referendum said no.
Significant number.
31%.
Yes.
Now, we may play politics with it here and say, oh, you see, William Ruto and the others, they voted against the Constitution, blah, blah, blah. But it was clear those who were campaigning against it had the various reasons that they were campaigning against it. One of them was this one. The issue of abortion, the issue of the definition of where life begins. That was a serious, contentious issue at the referendum. The church that was campaigning against the Constitution, that's one of the issues that they were raising. And Bishop Oginda has even told us here before. That was an issue because it was not clear. It was saying in the opinion of a qualified medical practitioner, the abortion can be procured. And they were like, we need to be very clear here. What do you mean? It's a big one.
Clarity.
The others were the inclusion of Catholic courts and all, but abortion was key. And we have not addressed it. It tells you that even those in power know. It is still, if we open that lead again, we may go back into discussing this constitution.
Yeah, tinge cake, absolutely. Because, and that's what I'm saying, the uncomfortability with discussing this thing. Because you will find those who have been hinged on the religious and moral aspect for the longest time, agreeing with some of the factors for abortion. And that's it. That very few folks who have been shrouded with all this religion and morality, finding themselves agreeing and saying, hold on a minute. Then in some cases, maybe it is all right to procure an abortion. And those who would actually say you should actually have a choice will say, hold on a minute. Maybe it's too late in the game to procure an abortion once the fetus has reached 4 months, 5 months. So people who would ordinarily be on the other end of the spectrum find themselves saying, wait, in 1 or 2 cases, maybe it is all right or maybe it is not all right. And people are not ready to have that conversation because it is emotive and it is uncomfortable. And that's why I'm saying those who are even making the law, that's why it was contentious.
Yep.
It was contentious because there are certain things that people are still not ready to say out in the open. That how dare you be comfortable with this thing? Or you who have taken such a far right position previously, how dare you not be comfortable with this thing?
You know, it brings forth the entire discussion on legislation and why we have legislation.
Yep.
It provides you with a commonality of a perspective. But it also gives you room to discuss the differences that Eric has been talking about and why it is that people have those differences. Now, if your argument is to propagate a point as opposed to try and convince others to see your point of view, your standpoint and the position you will take in arguing out your position will actually be differentiated by that particular perspective. So, whereas you could bring people on board to get them to understand why it is you've taken your position, in many cases, someone takes a position and just sticks by it and doesn't bother to explain why they've taken that particular position. Now, the issue of morality revolves around sex here. And the moment the story of abortion is brought into play, the issue of the life of, or the dangers that the carrier of the fetus, meaning the mother, the issue of the rights of the fetus, that is an academic discussion that is very rarely, as you correctly put it, at the center of it. At the center of it is the morality attached to it. And that when one seeks to procure an abortion, it is because they have done something wrong and they want to get rid of the evidence. Okay? Whereas that is actually not the whole story. Now, we have always been as a society uncomfortable to discuss issues to do with sex. Because the issue of abortion would not arise if some sexual encounter had not taken place, in whatever form. Now, remember, Senator Kihika had a bill that she had sponsored along these same lines. And she was here and she narrated to us the difficulties that she had encountered. See, part of the problem with the religious arm of our community supporting this, there are those who argue that it's an argument and a position that is sponsored by the evangelicals who come from the US. The anti-abortion laws, the position that they take. I really don't care who it is who's supporting the bill. What is pertinent is the opportunity it provides for us to actually look at this thing and discuss it rationally, as opposed to the emotions that are often poured into this discussion. Unfortunately, we can't depoliticize it, we can't unpoliticize it, and we can't remove politics from it. But the larger discussion has to be had. If it means, Eric, as you suggested, that we go back to discussing the Constitution, let us.
Let it be discussed.
That's why even legislators, even those who drafted the Constitution, they came up with a timetable for when various laws should be drafted and enacted, and gave the CIC that job. This particular one was not touched. Okay?
Given a wide berth.
That's why it's been grey, because it is a serious contentious issue. And it goes, I think, even beyond the issue of whether it is sexual relations or not. It goes beyond that, I think, in some cases. There are those who actually look at it, and they're seriously looking at it from the angle of life. Is this committing murder or not? If we say that you are pregnant, yes, you are pregnant. You already are carrying life. Now, at whatever stage, if we just leave it blankly and opening and say, yeah, you can procure an abortion, we're basically saying that, well, we can kill. And they argue that we should come from the angle of we should try as much as possible to protect this life. If it gets to that point where now, seriously, it's clear that this life cannot be protected, then that's where they say, okay. But the argument is I think it's on the approach. When the life of the mother is in danger, then you can procure an abortion. But what happens so what are you saying?
That you could just as easily get rid of
that we're terminating one life
to save another.
Why are we terminating this one life? Why are we being so quick to terminate one life? The pro-life side looks at it from life. The pro-choice side looks at it from
it's my body.
It's my body. I'm the one who's carrying. But then they say you're not just carrying some tumor. You're carrying a living thing. It becomes heated like that. If this thing goes to Parliament, you will see those divisions in Parliament. People will avoid going to Parliament because people do not want to take a position. Just the same way we've seen with the gender bills, the two-third gender rule.
Yes.
It's the same thing that will happen here. People know going back home, and I say that I voted for abortion. What am I going to tell the people?
Taking the position is difficult, and it is uncomfortable, because on one side, you're essentially saying that I've given the okay for you to terminate life. I've given the okay for you to murder, because if we're going to get down to the nitty gritty, that's exactly what it was saying.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you're going to say, yeah, well, I've given, opportunity for anybody to do as they wish with their body. And then that means that you're opening the door and all kinds of moral things can fly in or immoral things fly out. That's essentially what you're saying. Nobody is comfortable with any position, and nobody's ready to back up their position with either fact or study or just belief. And this is the thing, that people are still, whether it's legislators, whether it is religious practitioners, whatever it is, very few are ready to say, this is my position. Whether I back it up with belief or fact, very few people are ready to take that stand and say, you know what, I believe that life starts immediately there's the fusion. Or those who say, you know what, really, that's great, but I believe that this woman should be able to do whatever it is that she wants with her body. Nobody's ready to, even if it is just your dry bone belief, and say, you know what, this is what I believe.
I think they are.
And back it up with that. To come out and stand and be comfortable.
Yes.
And be comfortable and say, this is what I believe.
Yes.
And say, push it to the point whereby it should be in the law.
Yes, I think there are. Those who are campaigning against the Constitution, they were coming out clearly and saying no. No, because of this issue of abortion. They took a stand. They took a stand and said, because there's the word abortion, just the word abortion here in the Constitution.
That was their position. I remember there was also the argument about the issue of the Kadhi courts.
Yep.
Yeah.
And whether it should be in the Constitution or not. You see, positions, so long as you remove the emotions, should be a subject of discussion.
Absolutely.
But in our case, on the one hand, we have this moral ambiguity, which is part and parcel of our DNA. Then you have a serious issue that actually ought to be looked at clinically, but it won't. It will be lost in this ambiguity. It will be lost in the politicization of it. It will be lost in all these things that do nothing but make the matter more complicated.
Because people want to apply the emotion.
People do not, the two of you got it right. It's not something people really want to address directly. Not really. No. From a personal point of view, look, The one issue that Parliament seemed to have agreed on, well, they agree on many things quickly, raising their pays, benefits, and so forth. The issue of whether people can have second wives, etc., etc. That one didn't take time.
Very early in the morning, done and dusted.
That one didn't take time. Now, you see, we have a cultural background that supports such a perspective. So you're not introducing something that people consider to be new. Not really. But then you ask yourself a simple question. If you can arrive at a decision that quickly, what about some of the things that are actually important to us and things which can help by providing not just a moral perspective, but a standpoint from which we can then now look at things. It doesn't mean you can't debate it, but at least we'll have a standpoint. Right now, it's ambiguous.
It's one of those. It's the judge. I think the judge, Justice Ruben Nyakundi, has done a very good thing because he has highlighted these issues, brought it back and said, you know what, we have these provisions in the Constitution. We have doctors in this country who are making these decisions on a daily basis.
And on their own.
Right? And yet, they actually stand the risk of being brought before a judicial officer at any moment. What you were doing was an abortion. It was not about the life of a woman being in danger.
No.
And then a judicial officer may be one who's on the other side, who looks at it and says, oh yeah, this was abortion. You went and done it 7 years.
Absolutely. I reckon
14
we know
actually.
Look, still today, I mean, if we look at the statistics, there are hundreds of girls between the ages of 12 and 25 who are terminating pregnancies.
Yep.
Whether it's your back alley clinic, where it doesn't matter, wherever, this is still happening. And just like you say, if the door was open on some of these things, you have hundreds of young girls in prison.
Yep.
You would.
Let's take a break. It's 28 minutes to 8. Kenya's biggest conversation.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
KTN Home welcomes you with shows that will inspire you. They are very compelling, very emotive, and even better about individuals who have a story to share. Through their stories, you get to hear of as many life experiences, learn and grow. Catch What's Your Story every Saturday at 6 p.m. Her Standards every Saturday at 4 p.m. and Everyday Woman every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. KTN Home, the home of inspiration.
Still see cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 16. Partly sunny conditions at 16 in Nakuru, highs of 26 and lows of 14. We'll see lows of 13 in Nyeri, where it's cloudy at 14, highs of 26. 25 will be the high in Eldoret, where it's sunny at 16, and we'll see lows of 15. Mostly sunny at 28 in Mombasa, highs of 34 and lows of 26, while Malindi, light rain in some parts at 29, highs of 33 and lows of 27. It's mostly cloudy at 22 in Kisumu, 29 will be the high and lows of 20, while Kakamega is cloudy at 22, highs of 28 and lows of 17. Looking at mostly sunny conditions at 19 in Kampala, highs of 27 and lows of 18, while in Dar es Salaam it's raining at 26, highs of 32 and lows of 25. Johannesburg cloudy at 14, highs of 23 and lows of 12, while it's mostly clear in Lagos at 28, highs of 33 and lows of 28. At 24, it's clear in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 34 and lows of 24.
I hope you don't believe that Hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to Kano, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Mathare, presidential tour. Yeah? And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the enemies says, hata wewe kuna jina kama yangu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, we're in the thick of things right now. Traffic hour started early this morning. We're seeing heavy traffic on the Thika Superhighway, and that is all the way well into Thika town, moving very, very slowly this morning, folks. So if you're getting on Thika, the Thika Superhighway this morning, you might want to think about using Outer Ring if you're trying to get into the city to get out of that mess, because it's really heavy, and we're looking at thick traffic. Also on Kiambu Road today, in and outbound. It's in and outbound on Limuru Road as well. Let's look into the western part of the city coming out of Westlands. Now we see that Chiromo area really, really heavy this morning, folks, and it doesn't look pretty at all. Coming out of Riverside onto Chiromo, we're also looking at Ngong Road, which is really heavy, started early as well. The CBD absolutely packed. Also coming off Langata Road, that's well beyond the turn-off from Tiende, and we're also looking at the Southern Bypass. You're going to connect with Langata Road at some point. So traffic hour started early. It's really heavy, bumper to bumper in a lot of parts. Let's keep an eye on things. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Okay, 23. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. As we're taking the break, you were talking about, so there's the other angle. The other angle is that there are very many people, young and old, who are procuring abortions in the back alleys.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Not because their lives or the lives of the pregnancies that they're carrying are in danger. It's just a decision that they've made.
Yes.
So now that is a whole different kettle of fish.
And if
because it's about choice.
100%. We're not talking about danger here. We're talking about not comfortable with a pregnancy for whatever reason at the point in their lives. And just from the studies that we have seen, just from the data that has been collected, you'll find a lot of them younger girls by the time a 12-year-old is getting an abortion, it is not about, and it is not on medical reasons, any kind of danger, for example, then there are very many conversations that are being had there. The fear that she would have of facing her parents and saying I'm pregnant for whatever reason, the clear responsibility that has been shirked by whoever her partner is, those are things that are coming into the light and saying, we'd rather get rid of this thing. And then there are medical practitioners that are offering these services for a fee, obviously.
Yep.
And that's what I'm saying now. This law that we're talking about, Justice Nyakundi, this ruling that he has given, if there were more police officers who did random checks around cities, around towns in the country, I am telling you that on a daily basis, you would find arrests in these quarters.
People talk about back alleys. People talk about quacks.
Even the swanky clinics are offering
Precisely.
abortions today.
Precisely.
Today.
And one doesn't touch them because they have a more organized, a more sophisticated cover.
Yes.
Okay? But you can book an appointment, you can procure that abortion, and you can walk out of that clinic with minimum fuss. Minimum fuss. You see,
law notwithstanding.
What law?
What law?
You can see the penal code clearly says
it's illegal.
That it's illegal.
Yeah.
Yes, the penal code says it is illegal. The penal code and the regulation that we had during COVID stated without any ambiguity that you must wear masks. Were people wearing masks?
Also stated a number of things that people didn't do.
So the point is, the heart of this discussion, if you ask me, revolves around the issue we mentioned plus this. When you have a law that runs contrary to the needs and desires of people, what do you think is going to happen? Because you have the law, we get it. It is the law. There's a reason why that law exists. But the inclination, the natural inclination that people have is to abrogate it, to go completely against it. So what then do you do? Do you relook at the law? Do you look at the nuance? Oh, what do you look at? I gave the example of the issue of second wives, did I not? Why? Men are inclined towards polygamy. They'll give all sorts of reasons. They have that inclination. Now, an opportunity presents itself for you to make it legal.
Omo, faster. But this is it, and I think you've just touched on it right there. Because here you have this big bad law that stares you in the face and says this particular thing is illegal, right?
It's bad.
But on a daily basis, you still have people doing this. And again, I'm going to separate it because we're not talking here about any kind of medical danger. It is the choice. But you still have people, back alley or not, going ahead and procuring these terminations, right? What does that tell you? That there is this call, salient or not, that people still feel they wish they had the freedom of choice. In as much as you want to tell me that life starts at this point, people still want the opportunity to be able to choose within a circumstance what is best for them.
At that point.
Yes.
People want the opportunity to be able to make the choice.
And this is not a right and wrong thing. It's just a question of choice.
Yeah.
You see, when the pro-choice and pro-life debaters come up, those pro-choicers say, I just want that. I just want the opportunity for whatever reason.
Allow me to choose.
I wasn't ready. I am not in a position to. I am very many. And we're not even talking about, the circumstances that led to the pregnancy, whether, it was after a rape and all. No. It's just, I'm pregnant.
In this moment.
Let's actually assume that it was a pregnant. I know how this pregnancy happened and there was no coercion. I was a willing participant, but I want to make a choice to terminate. Those on the opposite side of the alley say, you see, there's
it's not just you.
You've gone beyond you, okay? There is now the result of what you did. And the result of what you did is not a new follicle that has grown on your skin or hair. It's not that. You're not growing a longer nail.
It's another human being.
It's another human being, just like you. Now, that's where the arguments now come in. Now, if you just think about it, I want to make a choice. Make a choice for who makes a choice for that other living being? The other argument comes in. It's one where we will have left, right, center, will go up, will come down, but those positions will not move. And then again, you look at the statistics. Yes, we don't have the actual statistics because it's illegal. But if we actually just went and said, let's get the proper statistics of the number of abortions that are procured in this country in a year. And then let's get the actual statistics of the number of births that are procured, that happen, whether live birth or stillbirth. But somebody had made a choice that I want to go ahead and have this baby. What's the percentage? Which one has a greater percentage? It's a pro-life, right? So, how do we tilt the scale?
Eric, ask yourself this question. How many parents are comfortable discussing issues of sex with their children?
With each other.
No. I'm jumping the gun here.
Yes.
But you've gotten the heart of the matter. You see, when someone is an adult, the discussion of sex takes a different turn. The worry usually is for young human beings who are still dependent on their parents. Now, children understand the need to go to school because matters pertaining to school, they are discussed with the children. Parents have an ease with which, in fact, not only do they discuss it with their children, they're even willing to pay other people to make sure that their children get educated.
Sure.
They think it is important. Now, if you look at the reactions that come with matters of pregnancy, it tells you it's something that people consider to be very thorny. But do we give it the same attention? Do we pause and say, okay, given that this thing is this important and that it often involves life beyond us, should we not perhaps pay a little more attention to it and give it more detail? Now, that thinking and that particular perspective very rarely takes place. And when it's discussed, it is again in vague, ambiguous terms. Is it discussed in schools beyond biology classes? In church settings, how is it discussed? When you have what you call premarital classes for young people who want to get married, what do they really discuss? Okay, people then get married. How are matters pertaining to sex discussed and talked about? Precisely. No, so long as we have an moment with these matters, it will remain
Indeed.
And so the law has to come in at some point.
But then we also must remember that those who are legislating, those who are putting the pieces together, those who are lobbying, having debates, are the same stock of people that you're talking about that are uncomfortable with this conversation.
It's just us.
So really, how do you want it to be, if not differently? And that's what I'm saying. That, you know what? It's getting to the point whereby it'll be something that will be swept on. It will be kept in that corner until cases like this pop up every now and then. And then I hope it doesn't get to the point whereby folks are going to be forced to deal with it head on and say, you know what? Let's just demarcate these lines very clearly and say what exactly ought we to do. Otherwise, you'll have cases like this where people are just running rogue, doing whatever they like and arresting people whereby they didn't even know what was going on.
You know, Ndu, before 2010, we had the penal code. It was clear. Abortion.
Illegal. Still stands today.
After 2010, abortion, illegal. But,
however,
there's a...
In circumstances
that is
where,
the thing. After 2010, we introduced a however. That is where the contentions begin. Going with the fact that globally it's another conversation. Those pro-choice, pro-life and the infiltration into the Kenyan society. That is where the issues are.
And this is the thing, Eric. That
before 2010, was this a national debate? Those things in the penal code. Was the penal code a national debate? It wasn't.
But were people still procuring or terminating?
They were.
Of course they were.
They were.
They were still doing it under the radar. Somewhere here, still happening. And this is what I'm saying. That it after 20 before it became it was a however moment, you will have yet another however. That somebody can then come and say, well, in the case of 1, 2, 3, let's give it a think a little bit more. In the case of 1, 2, 3, and then there will be more contention. Another 5 years down the line, there will be another however, and then there will be more contention.
People are comfortable knowing that the law says no. Okay?
But we'll still do what we need to do.
You go and do what you're doing. If you're caught, the law is clear. If you're not caught, you're lucky.
And do you know
this thing of saying, but now the law allows you, that's what people do not want to have. That's a conversation that people don't want to have. It's the same thing with the LGBTQI conversation. At this point in time, LGBTQ, it's okay, you live your life, man. There. But are you putting it in law?
So that we're all governed by it. We're all governed by it. No thanks.
No. Those are the uncomfortable conversations that
folks are not ready to have.
Yes.
You see, the reason why the law isn't even a threat in these matters, we've understood it's also negotiable. Yes, it says I shouldn't, but when I'm arrested, I can negotiate. I don't even need to go to court. Now that is a pointer as to how we think and how we deal with our issues. So, again, in the same way, so long as it's something that touches on what people consider to be a province that they ought to decide in their own quiet way, you will have your law, yes. But they are going to treat it in the way that they find most suitable.
Yep.
The law is clear, but what people do, then they're not going to be able to control.
They'll deal with it.
They will deal with it in the manner that they feel is fit. Ask yourself this simple question. Our laws in 2010 also changed. Inheritance.
Right.
All children, all treated equally, all.
Yeah.
There are no girls, there are no boys, that story doesn't exist. The practice, completely different. We are going to have more and more cases of people being taken to court and it's usually the brothers who have decided, no, their sisters are not taking it. Forget it. What? So you're married. Go where you are married and stay there. Now, It is the conflict, not of the law, but it is in the practice of what we are accustomed to and the manner in which we feel we ought to go about it. And then there is the law.
Yeah.
And the reason why some of these things are always and will remain an issue, the bother to explain why that law was put in place and the benefits. You see, people react when they see, I will not benefit from it. There'll be something negative accruing for me.
Yep.
If it can be explained that is what you think, but however, the benefits for these are this, and the other, it's never explained, is it?
No. Also, some laws are considered foreign. People don't have an issue with any law that says that you kill, you'll be killed.
It's understood.
People don't have an issue because even in the traditional ways,
it's understood.
That is how it was dealt with.
If you're not killed, you're banished.
Yes. You kill, there's a severe punishment that befalls you. Now, these are the ones. Now you're starting to introduce some other law that goes somehow contrary to the laws that we had. Whose law are you bringing? Whose law is this that you're bringing? We've had a law. We've had a law that has governed us. It's not like we were living without any laws. We had laws. We had regulations. They were just not written in some fancy paper with some fancy ink. But they were there and everybody understood them. It's the same conversation when you talk about FGM now. So many years down the road, why do we still have an FGM as an issue in the country?
It's not going to stop being an issue.
The conflicts of those two laws, traditionally we have how we deal with it. Now this new law comes in, and then this new law starts slapping some interpretation of why we practice what we practice.
You know, you talk about rites of passage. There are women who will happily tell you, in this day and age, they'll be knowledgeable, they'll have gone to school, call it what you may, they'll say, no, I have to go through that rite of passage in order for me to be a woman.
Yep.
And you know what they talk about? What we're referring to as FGM.
Yep.
Now, if you don't understand why it is that it's considered that important, and why it is that you will have the law, but people will still go contrary to the law to pursue this very end. Anytime you have a law that doesn't take into account the ways in which people conduct their lives and how it is they've accepted those ways, and you bring a law that seems to run contrary, they are going to abrogate your law. They will not tell you to your face, but they will find ways of going around that law of yours.
Or ignoring it completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, or ignoring it completely.
If they think ignoring it has consequences, they will feign compliance.
Yeah.
Like the face mask on the chin. You see a cop, you just bring it up to your nose. It's the same thing. Now, our new constitution, wonderful thing that it is, with all these many wonderful things, there are too many things which are very good. Now, the discussion around how it is, we accommodated with the way in which we ourselves have lived and accommodated the way in which we believe we should conduct our lives. Again, so long as it runs contrary to those processes, this debate will not come to an end.
Yep.
In our communities, we had ways of dealing with pregnancies outside wedlock. We did. We understood. It wasn't something which was not understood. It was understood.
Yeah.
There was even clarity to it. And the issue of shame, if it came about, we knew how to deal with it.
Yes.
In a way that it would then be accepted and people would say it is okay. And as they say, we would move forward.
We'll move on.
But the moment you have the law that people can't quite relate to because they already have something that they're relating to and which they find to be more appropriate, again, these conflicts will always be there.
That it's I think it's the downside, the negative side of what we call globalization. So we are in a different era where there are things that you have taken in as you are being brought up. The socialization, you are being brought up. You are not necessarily told that this is how things are. But you grew up and you sort of got to understand that in my community, in this society, this is how things are. And then there's a law that says this is how things ought to be, which is somehow different. There's that clash. And I think that's what we have. There's a clash because even today, just like you said, there are very many teenagers and young girls who are procuring abortion. One of the reasons is I just don't want to approach my parents and say that this has happened. Was there such fear before? Yes, even in the traditional ways, there was that fear.
Yeah.
But then it was dealt with. You could not hide it, so it was dealt with. And how is it? Simple. Come.
Marry.
So who is it?
Marry.
Let's go.
You will marry.
Let's discuss.
Yeah.
So this has happened. Now we shall take care of this.
Mm-hmm.
These two shall now, let's start regularizing this process. And at that point in the initial discussion, they're not even talking about there's a pregnancy. No. These two shall get married, shall move on. They'll take care of their young one. Today, we don't have that. We have, in this new way of living, we are, no, that one is not becoming, that one is not marrying you.
And we have software for dealing with these things. The morning after pill and all the other. You see, again, in the information age, there's this understanding that there are things you can do, yes, but there are consequences to whatever action you may think of taking that one isn't fully informed about. And there is an aftermath. Now, societal norms took care of that, meaning you had support. So you are never alone. In this day and age, you are actually alone with people who know as much or as little as you.
Yep.
Because those are the people you consult. Anytime you have an issue of the law coming up, I am always delighted because it gives us an opportunity to look at things that ordinarily we would never be able to look at.
Indeed.
Yes.
This one is going to open up a lot of conversations if Parliament does take up this challenge as given to them by Justice Ruben Nyakundi, where they've been told, look, people, what you need to do is enact laws on the termination of pregnancy, come up with a policy, come up with regulations, termination of pregnancy. At what point does a medical professional determine that this is a pregnancy to be terminated? And then what after that? Do they decide? Do they go ahead? Do they decide? Do they seek consent of the patient? If the patient is unconscious, do they then seek consent of?
The next of
kin. If the next of kin has a decision that is contrary to the patient wakes up and says, no.
Then what? That's what I'm saying. Every single one of those lines needs to be drawn out. What are you going to do?
This Parliament is going to duck this one.
They will not touch.
They are ducking it. Let the next Parliament come
deal
and deal
with
with
it.
it.
Even the next Parliament will not touch this
I'm
one.
telling you, too uncomfortable to deal with.
They will not touch this one. Even if today we said, let's go to Bomas, only for this one discussion. This one. We will go and ask the Lord to bring back Bishop Sulumeti from where he's keeping him. Bishop Sulumeti will come, chair another contentious committee. We will not arrive at a conclusion and a solution on this one. Two issues.
And yet, Eric, I think we can.
Will still stand as the supreme law.
And yet, I think we can come to an understanding.
Oh, can absolutely. Ability to, for sure. Is there the willingness to do so? And I think that people have, unfortunately, sides are clawing at their positions without even trying to open up a little bit to have an understanding of what it could be. You'll find that some people are not investing in any kind of common sense at all. And we say, this is what I believe, and this is what I believe, and that's
and it's belief. And belief to them is common sense.
Absolutely.
Coming up to the top of the hour, Cipladon is effervescent pain relief medication. Comes in two not sizes. What is it? 500 mg and 1000 mg. The 500 mg is the one that's sweetened with aspartame.
Yes.
And the other one is a natural taste.
It's neutral. Yes.
Take it. Water. Glass of water.
Please, not a jerry
Let
can.
it dissolve.
City, please, just stop it. Not a jerry can of water. Glass, 200 ml, 300 ml, you should be all right.
The sip.
Sip.
And then you take the whole thing. You don't know how to take it like chai.
And then you start drinking it like chai moto. Moto na mayembe. No. Once.
When you have it in the glass, just take the whole thing. As you walk around with it now.
So I'm taking
I'm just taking this one, Cipladon from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Taking a sip. Surely. Good morning. It's 8 o'clock.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. The 2 South Member of Parliament, Moses Kuria, has been summoned by the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission to explain the utterances he made on the 15th of March during the UDA Delegates Convention at Kasarani. Gatundu South lawmaker alleged that the 2017 election was rigged in favor of President Uhuru Kenyatta. IEBC further says that it has summoned Gatundu South MP Kuria to appear before its Electoral Code of Conduct Enforcement Committee on the 30th of March 2022 at 10 a.m. at the Anniversary Towers for examination of utterances is made at the UDA party NDC at Kasarani on the 15th of March now. The University of Embu, in collaboration with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, held a peace walk to promote and advocate for peaceful elections. The peace walk, dubbed Uchaguzi Bila Noma, that saw hundreds of students walk around the town, aims to sensitize residents on the need to conduct peaceful campaigns and elections. Speaking at the event, National Cohesion and Integration Commission Deputy Director in charge of Civic Education and Advocacy, Kilian Nyambu, noted that young people were instrumental in the campaign as they are often used by politicians to cause violence during the campaign period and after elections. The national government will launch the registration of border operators and the issuance of smart driving licenses in all the 52 Huduma centers across the country starting today. The exercise, that will be presided over by principal secretaries and other senior national government officials, is set to run for 60 days from today to the 24th of June 2022. In a statement, the National Transport and Safety Authority said the primary objective of the registration and the issuance of smart driving licenses is to qualified riders, is to streamline the border subsector and to promote road safety and security for the operators and users of the services. The exercise will be conducted within 60 days. And tax expert Dr. Njoroge Kimani has urged the Kenya Revenue Authority not to politicize revenue collection. Njoroge also says most Kenyans have little or no knowledge on tax matters, hence the need for civic education. Speaking during the launch of his latest book, Understanding Tax Administration in Kenya, Kimani said KRA should be the last institution to use intimidation and threats in tax collection, urging the organization to engage Kenyans in a better manner. Kimani says the book offers insight on tax and will help Kenyans demystify the same and pay taxes willingly. Now, low-income earners in urban areas are spending more on purchasing basic commodities despite the cost of living marginally decreasing. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, the recent increase in food prices has increased the cost of living and has hit people in the low-income earners bracket, and more so in urban areas across the country. The high cost of foodstuffs has seen Nairobi low-income earners inflation accelerate to 5.6% in January, above the national average of 5.39%. According to the leading economic indicators survey by KNBS, 7 out of the 10 Nairobi working class households are spending an average of 46,000 shillings monthly on basic needs as the prices of goods skyrocket. The EAC Secretariat has urged partner states to take appropriate steps to ensure maximum benefit from farming as the region is expected to receive normal rains over the next few months after almost 2 years of persistent drought in some EAC areas. This comes after the Climate Prediction and Application Center of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development has predicted normal rains over East Africa from March to May. The March to May season constitutes an important rainfall season, particularly in the equatorial parts of the region, where it contributes up to 70% of the total annual rainfall, according to ICPAC. The rainfall is good for crop and livestock farming if it is not excessive. The World Health Organization and the Government of India have signed an agreement to establish the WHO Global Center for Traditional Medicine. This Global Knowledge Center for Traditional Medicine, supported by an investment of US $250 million from the Government of India, aims to harness the potential of traditional medicine from across the world through modern science and technology to improve the health of people and the planet. The new WHO Center will be established in Gamnajar, Gujarat, India. While Gamnajar will serve as the hub, the new center is being designed to engage and benefit all regions of the world. And finally, Will Smith has hit Chris Rock in the face on stage at the Oscars after the comic made a joke about the actor's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, about his shaved head. Clearly, Love will make you do crazy things. This is Newswire. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, so we're looking at a few minutes after 8 o'clock and some traffic on Gong Road today. It's really tight as you're getting into the city, in and outbound, and then going into Kenyatta Avenue, into the CBD. Quite heavy today, so traffic started off with a bang and it's not letting up at all this morning. Thika Superhighway is really heavy, and we're looking at inbound traffic that's way beyond getting into Kiambu County. How's that, folks? Speaking of Kiambu Road as well, back-to-back traffic, and we're looking at in and outbound. Also on Limu Road today, that's quite tight, coming into the city, Parklands, that whole area. Into the belly of Gigiri is what we're looking at, quite some traffic as well. Mombasa Road, and that started off early as well. We're going to see, because of the construction that's going on with the last few toll stations there, there'll be some traffic well into the morning, and we're looking at traffic hour extending for some time today, so let's keep an eye on things. Talk to us, SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127, let's keep things moving this Monday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation
7 minutes after
Room,
8.
the only
How
way
are you
to...
doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. If you're just joining us, this is the third hour of our show this morning, the 28th day of March 2022. We have the president's spokesperson with us in the studio, but of course, you know, we always begin the hour with the day's proverb.
If you always walk down the same path, you will go where you've already been. Kofupi.
Uh-huh. And this is again from Chad.
This, we're still in Chad. Remember, we just began the Chadian proverbs, and then I took an off. Now that I'm back, I'm continuing where I had left off. Yes.
If you do what and what?
If you always walk down the same path, you will go where you've already been. If you're accustomed to driving on Mombasa Road and continuing, it's called Mombasa Road because it ends up in Mombasa. Now, if you think you are going to go to Kisumu, sorry, you will end up in Mombasa, not Kisumu.
And you've already been to Mombasa.
So you just continue going back to Mombasa.
You cannot expect different results. You cannot get different results
from
doing the same thing you've done before. Okay? Nisa, sawa. And a very good morning to everybody who's now watching us on KTN Home. We'll be live for the next 1 hour on KTN Home, in addition to being live on SpiceFM around the country and SpiceFM KE on YouTube and Facebook around the world, including where? Papua New Guinea. And where else?
Saskatchewan.
And Vanuatu.
Yeah, such places.
And where? Even in Jamena, Chad. They're listening and saying, that's not our proverb, boy. Or that's not how we said it.
We said it differently.
Differently.
We started off with a destination. This person has begun from the beginning.
Yeah. It's not how we tell our proverbs. Anyway, it's all right. He's representing us very well. Our guest this hour is Mrs. Ednah Mararo, who has very many titles. Secretary Communication, State House Spokesperson, Head of the Presidential Strategic Communication Unit. All those things. Can we just say the President's spokesperson?
Perfect.
Kanze, good to have you on the show.
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm glad to be here.
Welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you. I hope I don't burn.
Definitely, you cannot burn. I mean, surely. It is just hot. It's not actually boiling hot.
It's not literally hot. It's conversationally hot.
It's just fun is hot. Yeah, and we intend to.
Listen to these men.
As you sit there, we are honored that you have joined us this morning. You have very many titles. You joined State House in 2018. That's when you left us on this side of the Fourth Estate. And you went to that side where you're the newsmaker, person to be quoted. So what is your job exactly?
Okay, first and foremost, I head the Presidential Communications Unit, which of course is basically running His Excellency's newsroom. So I coordinate what our narrative for the day would be, and of course now managerially oversee all the stuff. That's one position. The second thing is I hold press briefings. Basically, the reason to hold the press briefings is more to emphasize His Excellency's message, because it's just a means of being able to let the people know what His Excellency is doing, what his interests are in, and where he's going. That's another thing that I do. Then the third thing is we just generally overlook oversee. Sorry, now I'm used to being in the studio and speaking Kiswahili. So today I have removed all my English.
Don't worry. We also love Kiswahili. That is why we overlooked the overseeing.
Yes. So basically, then of course now from a day to day, arrange all media engagements for His Excellency.
Okay.
Yes.
So you still run a newsroom?
I do.
It's only that you're not running a newsroom from this side, you're running a newsroom from that side.
Basically.
Okay. What's the difference between the job of the State House spokesperson and the government spokesperson?
There's not really, the only difference, basically, if I could say that, is that we just handle a little bit of, our dockets are slightly different in the sense that I specifically do speak for His President and handle State House. He now coordinates the entire government. That is all the ministries, the parastatals, and all that. But our messages are always intertwined. So whatever he's saying, I know. Whatever I'm saying, he knows. But I can't move on to, for example, if I'm to give a good example, is like now we're distributing food, right? So we flagged it off as the president. How it got to Mashinani and where it went to is what you've been seeing my brother Oguna doing. So that's basically what happens. Sometimes we feel like we clash, but we found a way to work around it together. Yes.
We've seen very many people who've headed this unit called PPS, PSCU, PP, and Isaiah Kabira, it had a different name, so it was PPU.
Presidential Press
PPS.
It was PPU and Mzemoi's time with Linjiro.
Then PPS and
Isaiah Kabira.
Then when Manoa took over,
Manoa SAP, so PSCU.
Yes.
And now His Excellency Manoa. And of course, the soon to be Her Excellency Kanze Ednah is also PSCU. Does your job then have to have you following the president wherever he goes and sitting behind him with a notebook?
I do follow the president everywhere he goes. I do sit down to take notes wherever he is. And also something else that we do is because I need to coordinate the reporters, the social media and all to make sure that we are running the same message. So that is a requirement that I need to be where he is.
I have to ask the question, is it only where he is on public functions where there's an agricultural show, there's a building that's being inaugurated, or say, for instance, if he's in Sagana, meeting the gentleman from his neck of the woods, are you also in that forum as well?
Yes.
So
there are those
in
forums.
Every forum.
So basically, what happens is that there are forums that are private.
Yes.
Like when he's having one-on-ones with the other presidents and stuff like that, or even with wazayas like you're talking about. So we have one-on-one meetings on their closed door. Those ones I don't sit in because they are private. They're privately his. But every other engagement I sit in. Yeah.
So you've had kind of like a seat at the shoulder over the last 4 years, right? Yes. Over the last 4 years, to be able to see what has been happening.
Yes.
If you were to give an overview of how the administration has carried itself over the last 4.5 years, what would you say? How has it been? Challenging? Have you been able to fulfill what was set out at the second half of this administration?
Okay. Because I came in on the second half of this administration, and His Excellency's focus was on the Big Four agenda. So I have basically overseen how we've been able to communicate, and also overseen projects that have been undertaken under the Big Four agenda. And the one thing, if you notice with this Big Four agenda, it basically involves in economic empowerment, one, and also the social welfare of the Kenyans. Hence manufacturing, food security, housing, and health. From where we sit, and from where I sit, as you've asked me, is that I feel His Excellency, or I know His Excellency, has put his best foot forward as far as all these pillars are concerned. In any engagement he has, that is where he first puts his focus. How does this affect either of the pillars that we are handling? In health, we've been able to put up health facilities in different areas in the country, working together with county governments. And also just giving the informal sector as an example, those were areas where we never had health facilities. They really had to travel far and wide. Now they're able to have a health facility right where they are. If you look at food security, a lot has been done through partnerships with organizations like the National Irrigation Organization and all, to just make sure that we are moving our farmers from rain-fed agriculture all the way to being able to irrigate, because irrigation is the direction that His Excellency has taken for us to be able to achieve the food security pillar. In manufacturing, a lot has also been done. Incentives have been brought in for investors to also come in and create the environment that is conducive. Housing. Affordable housing hasn't kicked off the way we would have wanted it to be, because of course there have been a few setbacks here and there. However, the project has still taken over, and there are people now occupying homes under the affordable housing. Yeah.
Do you write the president's speech?
No, we have speech writers.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you go through the president's speech maybe before or after?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I'm asking this is because we are talking about the Big Four agenda
Yes.
here. The president, upon swearing in for the second term, he told us his agenda for the next 5 years.
Yes.
At the end of 2017, it's going to be the Big Four. So by the time you're joining State House, mid-2018,
yes,
Big Four was already rolling
out. Yes.
At that point, did you understand the Big Four to be that this is going to be the defining legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta?
Yes, I did.
So in 2020, when the president went to Parliament and said, we are on course to delivering our Big Four agenda. However, I need to emphasize that the Big Four agenda, what we've been doing is setting the foundation, and we have set a firm foundation. We discussed it here and we said, it sounds like the president is changing tack.
Really?
He did not say that I want to set a foundation for the next 5 years. He said, I want to deliver for the next 5 years. He even set in numbers and said how many number of houses.
Yes.
He even said the milestones that are going to be achieved in terms of universal health care coverage, in terms of food security, in terms of manufacturing, and even the numbers. So by the time when the president comes to Parliament and delivers a State of the Nation and says, it's not going to be realized, but we are setting a foundation, is that not changing?
I don't think you can look at it as changing, because, Eric, I want you to be witness of the fact that for you to achieve any project or to achieve any goal, you need to set an agenda, which His Excellency did set. We also have to be cognizant that for 2 years, we were not able to work because we had the COVID pandemic. And a lot of the things had to shift. We were now thinking about kazi mitaani to take care of the young people. We were thinking about where subsidies were going to come to help people who were not able to feed themselves, and manufacturing was not taking place. We tried to do job cuts. So basically the focus shifted quite a bit for the 2 years. So basically we're now coming to the end of the 5-year term, having not achieved what His Excellency wanted to, but now has set the foundation for that to continue. because we haven't been able to achieve it. That's true. We accept that. But we also know that for 2 years, we were not able to do anything. We would have achieved much more than what we are achieving by 2020 or by now 2023 when we are leaving, 2022, the numbers there, 2022. But a big step has been taken. And so now it comes back to the point that we have done this. We wish we would have taken it a little bit further, but these are the stakes or these are the obstacles that we met. And so now this becomes a foundation for what can be achieved much more later.
The communication is an interesting thing. And the debate we had amongst ourselves here on this very subject, you see, the thing we kept asking ourselves is, okay, when the president speaks, it's from a position of information.
Yes.
He understands and he knows. So he's actually stating something that has been discussed by the people. Experts have come in, they've informed him. So he's stating it as it is.
Yes.
But yet there's a different reality. And the reality, for instance, if we look at the infrastructure in this country, any of these huge capital projects, none of them is short-term. They are all long-term. All. And very rarely, in fact, hardly, are they completed in the term of one presidency. Some even go to 3 presidencies. We have others that have never been fulfilled with all the presidencies we've had. Now, when it comes to communication, this is where we debate and ask, so what should come first? When these matters are being spoken of, should they from the get-go say, folks, these are plans we have. Okay, this is what we'd like to achieve. But the reality of these things is we are going to do our bit, and the likelihood is that we will get here. And the understanding is that, again, that the foundational story comes in, that whoever comes after us will then be able to continue. And then give the example and say, like these roads. We take credit for it, yes, but the foundation of this road was started by the previous administration. Now, in so doing, you then get the public to understand how government works. Because the narrative that we hear from our politicians, even things that are patently clear, were started off by some other person's administration. The current administration that completes it takes full credit for it. And yet, what they've done is done their bit in ensuring that it has come to fruition. So, when it comes to communicating these things, why is it that the communication is always take credit for everything, even things that you know full well other people have contributed to bringing to fruition?
I think you take credit for the part that you have played. And if you have played a part in bringing something to completion, then you can take credit.
Yes.
And I'll give you a very good example. You're here now as the Situation Room, right? You take this show to the greatest level. I mean, KTN, a Standard Group as an institution, know where they want SpiceFM to go, right? So you start it off, isn't it? And then I come after I'm done with my job and I continue the Situation Room, and I take it to another notch. It's still part of the dream. But do we then say that I cannot say I'm running the top show?
You can.
I can.
Yes, you
because
can.
at that particular point in time, you handed over the baton. I just took it a notch higher. So there's nothing wrong in me saying, in my tenure, in my time, Situation Room gained another 1 million followers. And then we'll leave it on for the next person who's going to come. So I agree. You may feel that we need to come out and communicate and say that these roads were started by so and so and so and so. And His Excellency has also said that in many of his speeches, that what Kibaki left, I completed. And I've taken over. And I've continued with others and begun others. My expectation is that the next government will continue with them. Let's also be cognizant of the fact that this is when devolution took over. Because there had never been a devolved government before. You get my point? So the desire to want to achieve all those things is there. The plan and the hope is there. Whether we get to the moon or to the sun or not is something else. But the question is, has the journey begun?
Sure.
It has.
It has.
Do you begin the journey by saying that I want to take you to Mombasa?
Yes.
Or do you begin the journey by saying we are going to Mombasa, I will drive you up to Emali?
I will say I'm going to Mombasa. However, it's possible I could get a tire burst and we can't get there. Or my engine will knock and will not get there. What I'm saying in short is that the desire to take you to Mombasa is there.
And we're going to get in the car.
And we're going to get into the car. And we will start driving. So when the tire bursts or when the engine bursts, will you say that I failed? Will you say that I failed? No. Answer. Will you say that I have failed?
I cannot say that you have failed.
Exactly.
Because that is something that is beyond your control.
Exactly.
However, if you get to Mtito Andei and you alight from the bus.
Yes.
Right? And you tell me now, Eric, get onto this matatu, huyu atakupeleka Mombasa. I will look at you and then, Kanza, you told me you are taking me to Mombasa.
But am I still not taking you to Mombasa even if I've put you on another bus?
You see, that is now changing. You're changing the vehicle, you're changing the time, you're changing everything. You're changing the driver.
So let me understand.
I probably got onto this bus because I trusted you as a driver.
Okay.
I probably got onto this bus because I trusted the bus and the vehicle that you're using.
Okay.
Now, when you get someone, you tell me, nimekutoa Nairobi bwana. This is Mutito. We have come somewhere. We have come somewhere. I've set the foundation for the next driver.
But we have.
That's where the communication, that's what it is asking.
So I'm getting
the communication at this point, should it not have been very clear that the journey is to Mombasa? This vehicle and myself, I'll take you up to Mtito and from Mtito I have made arrangements that there'll be another vehicle waiting for us. You'll board that one, and we've even reserved a seat for you. It'll take you.
Point taken.
Okay.
Point taken.
There's been, I think we cannot run away from the criticism as well that has come with this. There, from very many sectors, have been. Stuff like this, the communication, that many things have been happening, and I don't think we have a conversation on a day when somebody doesn't bring up the fact that the president himself has said that corruption continues to be one of the biggest things that plagues this administration, giving figures of 2 billion a day and things like this. How has that been dealt with in the inner circles to say, okay, folks, this is what the message is coming out to people, but how are we dealing with this internally? Because it can't be fun. The criticism has been sharp, continues to be.
Yes.
And there's still a lot then that continues to pick at.
Yes.
How?
Okay, you see, one of the things that we have been able to communicate, even through His Excellency, is to acknowledge that, yes, the corruption is there. And what has been happening so far, we've seen him taking steps and also confessing that we are going to take these guys out. Unaona sasa Kiswahili ndio inakuja kwa kichwa.
Don't worry. What you've said, I like. It communicates effectively the seriousness with which this thing has been taken. Please continue.
City. Anyway, so basically, what has happened is that we have tried to find ways in how to further be able to communicate the same thing. And one of the things that have happened is that you will see that in times of when there's been a very big conversation on corruption, like, say, for example, I'm trying to pick one at the top of my mind, KEMSA. And we're talking about COVID billionaires and everything. An investigation was instituted.
Yep.
That, of course, comes with His Excellency's presence and His Excellency's involvement.
Yep.
And then the management change. That still comes with His Excellency's statement or participation. So the next that is left is for the courts. And that's why you continuously hear him saying over and over again that I have done my bit. And what is remaining is for the investigations to happen and for the court to go through the due process. Yes. So internally, with all the organizations that are there, even including with the Guna, what we try and to seek to do is to figure out, to work continuously in ensuring and telling people the narrative that this is how far we have come and this is what we are waiting for, basically. So we are at that point.
Kanze, you deal with the president on a daily basis.
Yes.
And you have seen the man. You've seen the man in his work. You have seen his passion. You've seen what he wants to deliver. Do you get a sense sometimes that he sort of gets frustrated by the limitations according to the law?
Yes, he does.
So what does he want to do about that? I mean, does he appreciate the fact that he is not the one to direct the director of public prosecution on what to do? He cannot direct.
Yes, because he obeys
the judiciary.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he does. But at the end of the day, you see the Kenyans, we made a constitution that made him have those limitations, isn't it? So basically, the least that he can do is take steps at, like what I said, change the management at KEMSA, change whatever it is. But it does frustrate him because sometimes he would want to change something, make a difference somewhere, but he can't.
But does it also occur to him that maybe sometimes the actions that he takes dictate the pace at which everything else will follow? The investigations, the prosecutions, and also the public perception. When, for example, we talk about this particular case of KEMSA, let's change the board. Let us bring in management.
New people, yes.
But you're changing the board and still appointing a chairman from this board to also head another crucial institution. Does that not send another different message of? So it's you have not changed the board because you want to see you have raised concerns yourself about the management of this institution. You have changed the board because there's too much public pressure on this side. No. So, I mean, chairman here can move and become chairman here, even as investigations are ongoing.
Is there one that is like that?
Yes. The former chairman of KEMSA is a chairman of the Communication Authority, Senator Kembi Gitura.
Yes, okay, Kembi Gitura, yes.
So at that particular point, when you're having conversations about KEMSA, and the president himself has said, I have directed that I want to see a report on KEMSA within the next 30 days. Of course, the next 30 days come and the president does not say, this is the report that I received. But then the next step is he appoints the chairman of KEMSA to be the chairman of the Communications Authority. Does that not send a different message?
You know, the thing that comes to my mind as you ask this question, or are there things that are pertinent to the decision-making process that we can't be privy to? I mean, they are discussed at that level, but for our consumption as the public, this is what we are told.
And for our sanity.
And for our sanity and for our well-being.
I was just going, you just picked the words out of my mouth.
I did?
Yes.
Okay.
So. Because I was just going to say, you see, there's the workings that you and I can, even probably I don't have. When he sits on his one-on-one meetings, I also have no idea what he's told. What I can assure you is that he follows up the cases. So the people involved or the ministries involved and the parasitals involved do come in and they have a sitting. So there are things that, yes, we're not privy to. There are things probably we are not allowed to get to know because it will probably open a Pandora's box. And so they're being handled in secrecy, for lack of a better word, in secrecy or behind closed doors. But then we eventually see the outcome after a series of those meetings and a series of the process.
Let's take a break at this point and then we continue the conversation.
Okay.
It's 28 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, SpiceFM on KTN Home and on YouTube and Facebook. Our guest is Ednah Mararo. She's the Secretary Communication, State House spokesperson, and also the head of the Presidential Strategic Communications Unit. We are talking about President Uhuru Kenyatta's scorecard, what he's been able to achieve in the last 9 years of his presidency, coming to the end in August. What has the president been able to achieve? What did he set out to do? Because the spokesperson is here, let's just say that we have the president in the room with us. A very good morning to you. We'll be back shortly.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country. And I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma Namba the Msema Kweli is because all records will be there. You know, there are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accord with the Constitution is an illegal act. You know, he shouldn't be doing it and he should be sitting here and trying to sort of guise it up. I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
19 degrees and mostly cloudy in Nairobi. A chance of rain continue later. Highs of 26 and lows of 16. It's partly sunny at 18 in Nakuru. Highs of 26 and lows of 14. 14 will also be the low in Nyeri, where it is sunny at 16, going to highs of 26. We'll see highs of 25 in Eldoret. It's mostly cloudy at 18. Lows of 15. Rain is back in Mombasa at 30, highs of 33 and lows of 26. While in Malindi, light rain as well at 29. 33 will be the high and lows of 27. Mostly cloudy at 23 in Kisumu, highs of 29 and lows of 20. While Kakamega, mostly cloudy this morning at 23 highs of 28 and lows of 17. Kampala, sunny at 23, highs of 27 and lows of 18, while it continues to rain in Dar es Salaam at 28. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 25. Mostly cloudy conditions in Johannesburg, highs of 23 and lows of 13, while it's clear in Lagos at 28. We'll see highs of 33 and lows of 28. Round things out in Kinshasa, where it's sunny at 25, highs of 34 and lows of 23.
Spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
All right, really hot in Mombasa this morning. I'm looking at outbound traffic as well as inbound traffic from the Weybridge out then towards the SGR. Let's look out then towards North Airport Road rather, heading out towards Outer Ring. Really slow this morning. Back-to-back traffic all the way through and through. It's going to spill over from Outer Ring onto Lunga Lunga and then onto Jogo Road and then further ahead onto Juja Road as well. So into the city, we're looking at coming in the Thika Superhighway started really early and it's still bumper to bumper in most parts. Coming out of Westerns, Chiromo connects with Wangari Maathai Way, and so it looks like that Monday morning it's getting towards manic, folks. Let's keep an eye on things and see what it looks like in about half hour. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, talk to us there. Text 40127. Let's keep things moving.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
The conversation
Nairobi.
continues with the President Uhuru Kenyatta spokesperson Ednah Mararo, who's here with us in the studio. The conversation, of course, happens every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Kanze, we've seen the president react to very many things that happen in the public. For example, nationwide power outage. And it's established that it's because pylons collapsed and there may have been some vandalism that caused that. The president spoke about it publicly. The issue of the boda bodas, woman is molested and it's a public outcry, and the president says, you know what, mentions it publicly. But then there are questions that emerge, and it was even a conversation that we were having on Friday here. Insecurity in Kerio Valley, insecurity in Baringo, West Pokot, going into Samburu, going into Marsabit and Laikipia counties, and we don't hear the president speaking about it when more than 120 people have died, when many of them are facing starvation. When you talk about food security, Kerio Valley and all the irrigation schemes have been affected by this insecurity, yet we don't hear the president speaking about it. Why?
I'm thinking the Ministry of Internal Security and that is headed by CS Matiang'i is basically tasked with that tasker, and every security briefing that is brought to His Excellency, he gives direction. He may not have publicly spoken about it, but every action that you see out there, being deployment of security and figuring out a way to end the chaos there, there's His Excellency's involvement. Like you'll notice, there's a time that His Excellency brought in Marsabit leaders to State House to have a conversation, because what we've noticed is that some of these conflicts are actually like interclan and all those kind of things that are causing the mayhem. So what His Excellency has been able to do is look for the leaders of these particular regions to sit down and have a conversation, because as much as there would be a deployment of security officers everywhere, it's also it has to come down to a personal and intentional approach for the leaders on the ground. So he may not have spoken speaking out like you mean about, you say what do you call this? Speaking it out like what you say, like the border borders. But they have been even in his statements when he's spoken about security. We have spoken about those things.
You know why I'm asking that is because we have heard from the people of Kerio Valley, we've heard from the people of Laikipia, from the people of Marsabit and others, where they ask, are we children of a lesser God? Are we not worthy of a mention or direct address by the president? When they write to the Secretary General of the United Nations and they say, we feel like we've been let down by our government, is because they don't feel the person who is directly in charge of security in the country, who is the president, addressing that issue directly.
If I can jump onto that question, Kanze, from Eric, then I think it would be for this communication to come through, whether it comes through you or whether it comes directly, who does the president listen to? In terms of then what he should be shedding light on, who does he listen to? Who is giving him the feelers in terms of here is what Kenya is saying, here is what Kenya is going through, here is what Kenya is saying is important right now. Who does the president then listen to? Who advises him then on what he must pay attention to and communicate them through you?
He gets briefings from different sectors. We'll get briefings from the security sector, from different sectors, to keep him at base and to give him the information that he needs concerning every particular situation. That's why I'm telling you, like, if he's having a security briefing, and they will sit down and map out and say, then the best way for us to handle this is to move this here, to move this there, to bring this here. That happens. It is good also to have that feedback and to note that the people would want His Excellency himself to be able to address those things, because in already administering and giving direction to administer an action to be done in those areas, he on his part has felt that he has taken...
That the job has been done.
The job has been done. You get my point? So because he has directed, guys, you military do this, interior do this, do this, do this. And so it's good feedback to also hear that they would want to hear him speak on it. So that is a point noted and taken.
I want to ask a different question.
Yeah.
And that is, there is a narrative that is hereditary in our presidential system where people must hear the president speak. We have a new constitution. We don't have an all-powerful president like we had before the constitution. And yet, there is still in existence that need to hear the president speak. And yet, all the ministries that we have within this particular government and within this structure that we have the power to do exactly what it is that they're supposed to do. I get the impression that even those who are in these ministries still follow that same mantra of waiting for the president to give them direction.
To tell them what to do.
And yet they have a job. I'm saying I get the impression.
No, okay, sorry. If that's the impression that I've given you, that's wrong. What I mean
No, it's not you who's given the impression.
Okay, because...
This one I've done all on my own.
On your own?
Yes,
Okay.
without any assistance.
Okay.
Yes.
I think then what also needs to come out, which you've rightly put out, is that they need to be a little bit be vocal and also put out the message out there that this is what we are doing. And maybe that's a conversation that I can also go back and have with my co-spokesperson, Oguna, to see how best that works. Because then he's the one mandated to work on all that area. So maybe we have failed. That's what I'm saying. And again, because it's a digital era, we may have felt that when you post something, when you do that something, it gets to the people. So I don't want to give you the notion that the ministries are waiting for...
No. It isn't you who's doing this. I'm just explaining a situation that we have in the country where the truth is people... No, you didn't actually. I'm glad you did what you did because you've actually shed light. People expect to hear from the president. Okay? What I'm asking is the team that you work with and that of Colonel Oguna, the whole communication apparatus within our system, how do they shift the public from this expectation?
That is the president who
yes,
has to speak.
even when you know the constitution limits the president's capacity, the president could have done this.
Yeah.
The conversation of what the president ought to do and should do and must do is at the heart of every conversation. And that's why that pressure on why have we not heard the president? Why have we not? So I'm asking those who are in charge of communicating this, having understood this problem probably better than we do, what are you doing to ensure that the people understand what is really going on? Because at the end of the day, you can say all you like, they're still waiting for the president.
For the president to speak.
Yes.
Noted.
It is. I think another thing...
Because I think, that's what I'm saying, I think we... when we say, that's what I'm trying to say, when we say what we say because we know there are those limitations.
Sure.
Okay? But like you've said, it's because we are still at that point where we need His Excellency to speak.
Not only speak, we need him to come there and we need to see him in
see
person.
Him and do whatever it is.
Yes.
So I think then that's a challenge that you have actually thrown back to government, that we need to sit down and reframe for that to be understood, that His Excellency doesn't have to be everywhere, but he knows what is going on.
If I can give you an example.
Yeah.
When we had our first Kenyatta, as in Jomo, the second Kenyatta is called Uhuru, okay?
Yes.
You didn't need to see Jomo. If the provincial commissioner appeared, you knew Jomo was speaking to you. You didn't go around questioning and doubting and wondering. And by the same token, if the local chief spoke to you, you knew the government was speaking to you. You didn't need Jomo to come and tell you. Okay? All I'm saying is that communication has not left our system.
Yes, sure. Yes.
I think I've made my point.
You have made your point, and it has been noted.
Right. Yes. And I think over time, society has become more verbalized.
Yes.
I think that with the opening up of government and its structure and the way in which then you have society being able to speak up, at least then share their mind in terms of what's going on. Now, in terms of reciprocity from the other side, it still seems as something that's necessary to hear. And so then the question is, does it matter to the government, to the president, what the people feel, what they fear, what they desire, what they hope for? Does it matter when that communication is coming out that, hold on, am I taking into consideration across board, whether it is me as an individual or across government, what the people of Kenya need, want, fear? And then does that, or should it reflect? I'm going to give you an example. We saw the president shut down his Twitter account at some point because it would appear as though, the incrimination, he was being bombarded by people. But that's the thing. You want fresh air, you open the door. You cannot control the pests and everything else that comes. You were looking for fresh air, right? So does it then matter what the people feel? Then when you're communicating this, is it taken into consideration?
It does matter what the people feel and what they say and all that. And if you notice that in this second time, we've been very intentional about going to radio. Because one of the things that we realized was that the masses actually listen to radios. And so we've made it intentional to go down to the ground. So we want to know what the people in the coast are feeling. I'll do a tour in the coastal radios. And when I come back, I'll come back and tell His Excellency, this is what the people in the coast region are talking about. This is what ails them. We may need to look at this. We may need to look at this. I'll go down to Kisumu, do the same thing. So that's what we've just basically been trying to do as we go around in the vernacular station, so that we know. What that does is that it then feeds into his communication when we are going to that particular area. Yes.
The issue of the president's legacy, I'm sure it's a big one. And he already set up and said, these four, with these four shall you judge me.
Yes.
The big four agenda.
Yes.
Now, you've also said, in fact, if you just break it down, there's economic empowerment and the social agenda.
Yes.
The other accompanying thing that comes with all this is the rising debt. Where we've gotten to a point where, yes, the president says, I inherited 3 or 4 trillion shilling economy from President Kenyatta. I am leaving an 11 or 13 trillion shilling to the next president. But he also inherited low debt levels, and he's going to leave high debt levels. What is that? As the president speaks, how does he justify the high level of debt?
I think one of the things that we've been intentional is to say, for us to be able to have gained any development, we needed to have borrowed to get there. And that is not something that is strange to Kenya. Countries all around the globe, you borrow for development. The other thing that you need to understand is that the wage bill also went quite high from his taking his tenure. Because, like I mentioned, that's when the devolved government was there. Our devolved governments have not reached the point where they can be able to support themselves. They rely 100% on the national government. So, has there been borrowing? Yes, there has been borrowing. Have we failed to pay our debts? No, we haven't. And every time when there's borrowing, and even if you speak to the experts, they will let you know that when we have borrowed to know that where we are putting in the money is where we are going to be able to reap from it. Just the same way you and I would go to a bank to look for a loan to open up a business. We do that because we know with this money, when we invest it in the business, we will get this particular income, and that will help us to pay back. So I feel that sometimes it's a narrative that we want to throw, just basically, first of all, because we're going in an election period, and without us basically understanding the background as to why we borrow.
I think the financial experts who speak, and many of whom we've hosted here, have talked about not just the amount of money that we've borrowed, but the nature of the loans.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this is the commercial loans, and they're short-term loans, which now become a burden so very soon to the government, even before before the business has been able to start bringing in the returns, you already have to start paying. Now, that's where the questions come in. Why go this commercial route? Why not go into concessional loans with multilateral and bilateral lenders?
So, Latiff, I think that conversation needs to be had by the experts. Why this particular loan and why not this particular loan, I would not be able to comment on that. Yeah.
You know, while we asked the question, one of the discussions we're having today when we're looking at the newspaper review was an article that appeared in the Business Daily. And the headline, main, debt payments surpass state running expenses. That for the first time in our history, what we're going to be paying back in debt is more than the recurrent expenditure that the government has. And they say it is worrying. Now, it is true. Even our understanding has come from many conversations we've had with experts. And it's a daunting thing. But why we're raising the question is because when you look at the figures, it can be worrying, and yet there's a logical explanation that an expert would be able to give so that we understand, so that's why this thing is more than the other. But simply from the way we handle our own finances, because that's where we begin our understanding.
Yes.
If what I'm paying is more than what I'm earning, then I have a problem. In fact, one could argue that I am fast approaching bankruptcy, okay? Because my finances cannot balance. From a national perspective, I am certain that there are explanations, but we have to ask the question because the communication at the end of it, so that there's clarity beyond the reporting, is really what we're talking about. And since you are among the people whose task is to communicate certain things, this matter of debt is something that needs to be communicated effectively. And clearly so that we understand. Because the truth of the matter is figures are tossed into the air, experts come in, doomsday scenario, another one comes in, less doomsday scenario. But if the government explained it, and not in a day.
Yes, it cannot be in a day. It cannot be in a day for sure.
Yeah, not in a day. For instance, the experts you speak of come to our show here and explain to us over a period of time how it is that this is happening.
How you reach to
yes, and why it isn't something that we should be worrying about. It's something that we should actually understand. And connect it with whatever it is that we're doing. Now, then, at least a peace of mind will have been attained. But as things stand, they're not just worrying.
Scary.
They're disconcerting.
Okay.
Yes.
The president made us several promises. One is he was hosting journalists in Mombasa, and he was asked, can we get clarity on some of these contracts, especially this SGR contract? And he said, you want that contract? I'll make it available. To date, it hasn't been made available. Just the other day when the president was heading to the United Nations General Assembly, that is the time when the Pandora Papers were making the headlines. And he said, I have read and I've seen the conversation happening around the Pandora Papers. Let me make you this promise. When I come back, I'll address this particular issue.
No comment.
When the president makes this and then he doesn't follow up, what is the reason behind it?
No comment.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what we surmise from it.
Okay, yes, true. It's good to hear.
You see, what we surmise is that there's a lot going on that we can't be told, okay? But worse still, we are then left to configure anything that our fertile imaginations may choose. And the problem with that is that there's no end to it. We'll move from one extreme to the other. A little guidance. You know, when you're in a democracy such as ours, which is guided, even the conversation ought to be guided so that we at least have perimeters within which we can take our argument and thinking. don't let our imagination run too wild and too loose.
If there's the space, if there's a space that something has been left, right? Just like he's saying, we're going to fill it up with something.
Exactly.
It could be speculation. It could be truth, according to Kenyans. It could be lies. But you know what? There's a hole and something has filled that hole. And I guess we still have to ask that question again. That here there are people who are conjuring up things for themselves. Does it not matter then to be able to set the record straight on some of these things? Because it to me, it is as big a legacy, even if you're going to explain something, as putting up a multi-billion shilling road, as putting up infrastructure in the country, that at some point you told the people the truth. Even if it was not in its entirety, you let them know, that this is what you thought and cared enough to explain to them. I think it's as big as a legacy as leaving a road here for people to drive.
I would argue it's a better legacy when you remember that, we had this straight shooting president who told us things we didn't particularly want to hear. But, I said it. And it came to pass that what he was saying all along was actually true.
Point taken, feedback taken.
Another one. This is not actually, in terms of feedback, he's basically asking the question. And the question here is, when the president is coming to make a public statement, just like CT said earlier, the assumption is that he has sat down with the various experts and the various people who deal with these particular sectors, and they've given him information. And they've told him, Mr. President, this time will be done. He has asked the questions, and they've assured him. This president, we discuss it here and we say, he is not just the ordinary person. He has demonstrated he's fairly intelligent. Then he consumes intelligence. And then he has access to information that many of us don't have. So when the president comes in October and says, by December, power bills will come down by 33%, you assume that this is after carefully considering information. Come December, the president says, we are on course. We shall actually have 15% by the end of December. And the end of December, that doesn't happen. The question is, how does the president arrive at his decisions? Does he consider the advice that is given by the experts that he has put in office? Or does he sometimes look at the advice and say, you guys, I have also other sources of information. I'm giving the example of the power bills. First promise, December. Second promise, end of December. Third promise, end of March. How many days to the end of March, Ndu?
3.
Okay. Another promise he made in the middle of December, that in March, the expressway will be complete. He'll open it. He'll drive from Machakos Junction to Maimahiu Junction. How many days to the end of March?
Still 3.
Okay. Explain.
Okay, I think one of the things that we need to note is that sometimes there are some unforeseen challenges that happen. So when that particular shift happens, it's because of those unforeseen challenges where we discuss and we see that, we can build this house. And then we come back and realize that we actually have molds around here that we need to first take care of before we can continue to build the house. That automatically brings the work will not be completed in the time that it needs to be done and will not be carried out in the same time that it needs to be done. If you're talking about the expressway, like for example, you said we're going to drive on it, the expressway, the plan is still on course. What happens is that sometimes when he says he's going to do it at the end of March, sometimes there are programs that come in between that hinder him from doing that. And that's why I'm saying it's not him not wanting to do it. It's that sometimes there are programs that come in because he automatically didn't have 100% control of his diary. So he would say, for example, on the 26th, I want to go do this. But when we come back and sit and figure out the diary planners and everything, they'll say, this particular thing cannot work now. Or it's better for us to do it in this particular season. But I have gotten to I'm getting what you're saying is that if he had said that he was going to do it on the 23rd, then we also need to come back and say we cannot do it on the 23rd because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I have noted that.
Asante.
Yes.
Kanze,
yes.
in 30 seconds, I know I'm very sorry that I'm cutting it to 30.
No, don't worry.
Give a message to Kenyans. I'm sure we all know the president is leaving. The president has done a lot. Speak to the country.
I think the one thing that His Excellency has been very keen on and would like to take out as a message is that we are one people under one God and we need to refuse to be divided. Peace prevails in this country. Tushikane mikono pamoja kazini na kila siku tuwe na shukrani.
On that one, I'm with the president. Thank him very much for us.
Thank you.
We hope to have him here
Yes.
soon.
Mr. President, thank you very much for joining us in the Situation Room through your spokesperson, Ednah, who has been here with us since the top of the hour. Keep it here for more conversations. Coming up, we have the Deputy Governor of West Pokot County, His Excellency Dr. Atudyang. He says, you've been saying I'm not absentee. I'm in the country. He's here. He's with us next. Thank you very much for watching us on KTN Home as well. Conversations continue on SpiceFM around the country or SpiceFM KE on YouTube and Facebook. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
The 1.2 million candidates who sat for the 2021 KCPE exams will know their results this week. Education CS Professor George Muga last week announced that the marking exercise had been completed and the results will be officially released either today or tomorrow. Muga said the release of the results would depend on President Uhuru Kenyatta's schedule, who must receive the results before they are released to the public. Over 1.2 million students sat the 2021 KCPE exams as compared to 1.1 million candidates in 2020. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya has castigated MPs for the constant criticism of the government over skyrocketing fertilizer prices that were threatening to compound food security concerns. Munya said the state was not to blame for the soaring prices, noting that the problem was global and occasioned by the war in Ukraine and Russia that has affected the export of the commodity, given that the two countries are the lead exporters. He asked legislators to stop playing politics with the issue and instead do the due diligence of appropriating funds for fertilizer subsidies in Parliament in a bid to lower the cost of commodities and save the country from imminent food shortage. Now, various parts of the country have continued to witness insecurity, especially among pastoral communities, leading to deaths, injuries, forcible eviction of people and theft of livestock. In the latest incident, one person has died while 4 others sustained injuries after running into trigger-happy bandits at Com along the Isiolo-Merti Road in Isiolo County. Meanwhile, in Laikipia County, attacks by bandits on Githega area in Laikipia West have left several people with gunshot wounds and several others fled from home fearing for safety. This even as leaders from West Pokot County fault President Uhuru Kenyatta for not doing enough to address the insecurity along the Kerio Valley. At the Nyahururu County Referral Hospital, medics were on a rush to save lives. This is where victims of the latest banditry attack in Githega area of Laikipia West are undergoing treatment. Among them are 2 brothers, one with a gunshot wound on the arm and the other on the leg. Now, 2 of the 3 bodies spotted floating on River Yala have been retrieved as one of the bodies was washed away by the raging waters of River Yala overnight. One of the bodies was blindfolded with a piece of cloth and its mouth gagged, with the other having a polythene bag wrapped over the head covering the face. The bodies were discovered by a herder who had gone to water a flock of livestock at the river. The discovery brings to 29 the total number of bodies discovered in the river since October last year. So far, 12 families have already identified their kins from Yala Sub-County morgue and buried them. The most recent identification was a Kenya Wildlife Services Chief Inspector Francis Isaac Oyaro, whose remains will be interred next Saturday in Uyoma Rarieda constituency. And Shanghai will launch a phased lockdown to curb an Omicron-fueled COVID-19 outbreak that has hit China with its latest caseload since the early days of the pandemic. China's biggest city will lock down its eastern half for 5 days of testing beginning today, followed by a similar lockdown of its western side beginning on April 1st. The metropolis of 25 million has in recent days become the leading hotspot in a nationwide outbreak that began to gain pace in early March. Although recent cases numbers remain insignificant in a global context, they are China's highest since the first weeks of the pandemic, which first emerged in the city of Wuhan in late 2019. Now, the second black box has been recovered from last week's deadly China Eastern plane crash, according to officials, and could help solve the mystery of the jet's breakneck descent. The Boeing 737-800 was flying between the cities of Kunming and Guangzhou Monday when it nosedived into a mountainside, disintegrating on impact, killing all the 132 people on board. The cause of the disaster, China's deadliest plane crash in more than 30 years, is not yet known. And more than 3.8 people have fled Ukraine since Russia's invasion a month ago, but the flow of refugees has slowed down markedly. The UN Refugee Agency said 3,821,049 Ukrainians had fled the country, an increase of 48,450. Around 90% of them are women and children. Of those who have left, 2.2 million have fled for neighboring Poland, while more than 500,000 have made it to Romania. Nearly 300,000 have gone to Russia. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
City, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, say, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has anybody that kind of... Has anybody been
I will not listen. All right, still in traffic hour this morning, and quite some of it into the city. Whether you're coming from Gong Road or coming in from Westlands or from Mombasa Road or from the eastern part of the city on Jogo Road heading into town or from the Thika Superhighway, everything still really heavy. It's been really heavy on the Thika Superhighway coming off Outer Ring. And then past Survey towards the Pangani underpass, and it still continues. Looking a little bit better on Kiambu Road this morning, however. Not as heavy as it was earlier, but still a thing to watch. Where it's still bumper to bumper, coming out of Westlands, Ring Road Westlands, taking on quite some, going out then towards Chiromo and out towards Wangari Maathai Road Way. Still a lot of traffic here. Mombasa Road, we're looking at in and outbound traffic right around Imaradaima, and that still continues every day until the construction ends. Let's keep an eye on things, folks. What's happening where you are? Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. Let's keep things moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room the only way to start
9
your
minutes
day.
after 9. This is, of course, Kenya's biggest conversation. We're here every weekday morning from what time? 6 a.m. until what time? 10 a.m. So it's the final hour of our conversation this hour, this day, and we begin with the day's proverb.
If you always walk down the same path, you will go where you've always
Sasa, you wait.
No, sometimes I need to upstage this particular thing here. Now I've upstaged him. Let's start again.
I do again.
Start again.
Okay.
Good. Sasa tuko na heshima sasa.
Yeah.
Now I will continue. If you always walk down the same path, you will go where you've always been.
Proverb is from?
Chad.
Are there different? Are there many tribes in Chad? Ndu, you're the one who.
There are. But there are 3 main tribes, but there are several others. I think we're looking, Chad has about 106, 107 different languages. So, yeah.
So what are those 3 main?
I can't tell you the names right now, but there are 3 main.
Okay. All right, our guest is in the studio, and he is the Deputy Governor of West Pokot County, His Excellency Dr. Nicholas Atudyang. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Dr. It's good to have you on the show. The Situation Room, the hot seat. I see you already dressed well enough for the hot seat with the red tie, which is good enough. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Let's start with the name Atudyang. This is a Pokot name?
Yeah, it's a Pokot name. And our culture, as you know, you have the childhood name, and then after you herd the cows and get a bull or a castrated one, which is a steer, you get to name yourself after that bull or steer, depending on the color. And so Atudyang is a description of a cow, a bull. It's a bull with very good horns that are very sharp, but apparently one is sharper than the other, or one is longer than the other. And that's where it comes, Atudo.
So is it a complex word or is it one word, Atudyang?
It's more of a description of the shape of the horns and the color of the cow.
I see. Yeah. I'm asking you that because Mr. C.T. Muga says that if you break this down into 2, or is it 3?
2.
Into 2, you'll actually have 2 Luo words, which are?
Well, the Nilotic language of the Luos, Atudo is a duck. Nyang is a crocodile. So Atudyang is a duck crocodile.
None of which has a horn.
None of which has a horn. But it's just a linguistic significance, and I'm glad he has explained it, because, you see, if you look at the harmony of languages,
yes,
why they are the way they are is because of what they signify in terms of meaning.
Right.
Yes. So I am glad he has explained it. Yes.
Dr. You have lived and worked in Kenya and the US for very many years.
Yes.
And in fact, the subject of conversation, public discourse over the last couple of months has been on your most recent abode, which is what? Allen, Texas, USA.
Yeah.
I have some relatives there. They've said hi. They've said, kuja po daktari msalimie.
Say hi to them as well.
What have you been doing there?
So, just to be very clear, it's been more stayed and lived in Kenya than anywhere else. And also my schooling was mostly in Kenya. Going to primary school in West Pokot, went to high school, actually 2 high schools. First went to Tenge's High School in Baringo, and then came back to West Pokot, Chewet High School. And then I schooled in the University of Nairobi. So most of my education was in the
Kenya.
Republic of Kenya, in Kenya. And the reason I went to the United States was to do studies, to continue with my studies. But that was after I actually done my first degree in Kenya and went to continue to pursue, to further medicine, to continue with medicine and practice there for a few years. But mostly I've been in touch and working and connected to Kenya, but more so to the people of West Pokot.
So even during this time when you were living in and working in the States, you would keep coming back home?
Yes.
Like how regularly would you come home?
We're
talking about now before you were elected
as
deputy governor.
Very regularly. And I never lost the connection, never lost touch, and never lost focus on championing and wanting to improve the standards, the living standards of my community, the Pokot people.
Were you involved in community projects at the time? You know the way they say, chairman wakato deep mahali.
Oh yeah, and not just after becoming not just after getting into politics, but way before that. As you know very well, it's a very marginalized area. It's an arid area. Schools are not that good, but we still had to find a way of making use of the resources that are available, encouraging the community, and also trying to perform as good as the rest of the country. And that's why even, like I told you, I did my primary and secondary education in West Pokot, but we were still able to compete with the rest of the students in the country. And I got myself a place or a slot to study Bachelor of Medicine and Surgery in the University of Nairobi.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So soon after the election,
yes, ma'am.
You went back.
Not soon.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess soon is relative, all right?
Yeah.
After the election, you went back to the US, right? Which, of course, then gave this label of being an absentee DG for the county. And folks who felt, okay, how are you then able to expend your duties if you're not in the country? Some of the things that you've spoken about now, giving a better education, sorting out community issues, making sure that society was able to thrive under the leadership. Do you feel that you've been able to do this while being away?
So, first of all, I want to say devolution is a good thing that happened to our country. And the spirit of devolution was to allow local communities or counties as it is right now to prioritize their needs, knowing that we are equal but not equal. For these 7 counties with different needs, some of them more developed, some of them still have a long way to catch up. And getting into politics, because you don't just become a deputy governor. You have to go through all the process.
Sure.
And just to let you know, trying to change the politics of West Pokot is something that I also got into from like 2006, immediately after graduating from University of Nairobi. And we continue to want the politics or the politicians that will prioritize the needs of our people, and education. It was or still remains one of the most important things. So 2017, when the opportunity came, I partnered with my boss at Professor Lanyangapur, and we went to the People campaign. It was a very tough campaign. We are in our party, the Kenya African National Union, KANU. As you know very well, Pokots continue to remain in KANU. They believe in the philosophy of KANU, of peace, love, and unity. Very peaceful people. So when they gave us the opportunity to lead them by electing us into the office, we sat down and looked at what are the priorities? What do we need to do? How are we going to modify the budget to fit our needs? And education was one of the key. So we had to move a lot of money to bursary fund And it's something I still say, we did that more than, we've allocated more bursary in terms of percentage, more than any other county. The second priority was actually healthcare. And at the point, people were even posting images, hey, look at this, West Pokot people are still on beds, hospital beds that you support with like a wooden block or a block, a brick. So we had to see how to improve this with a limited budget, because you have unlimited needs or so much to do, but the budget always remains limited. So once we had set the policies in place, we had to look at how else can we improve our healthcare facility with the budget that we have. And that's what brought the idea of looking for friends, looking for people who we can talk to, who can help us improve the situation. And it happened I have a lot of friends in the country and outside the country. And that was the time that I actually left to go look for those friends, and it yielded fruits. We actually have a better hospital right now in Kapenguria than we got in 2017.
Okay. So that means, you stayed on after that?
No.
Okay. So maybe give us, in terms of chronology, how then you went and came back, and how often you've been in the country, then while expending your duties as deputy governor.
It was an in and out. It wasn't an easy mission to achieve. So if I have to prioritize in terms of healthcare, so I've talked about education. So that one we could do with the county allocation, with the budget, and allocate some bursary. But when it came to healthcare, we needed equipment, we needed expertise, and we also needed a training or basic training of the workforce that we have. So when we got into office 2017, we looked at the mortality rates, what was affecting what was killing people, what was the cause of death of most that could be prevented. Like this is preventable, we can prevent this. And maternal mortality or childbirth related deaths was like the highest. So we'll say, okay, let's figure out how are we going to reduce this. So first thing I had to look for my friends who are very good with obstetrics, gynecology, looked for basic equipment like ultrasound. So it was a way of looking for friends, looking for things that we could solve problems that were more of big problems and solving them systematically. And it took some time. It just didn't take a day. And it didn't take one visit or one trip. It was more than that.
Okay, so and this is the thing. So I'm just asking, how long then had you been in country and then outside? Are we looking at 3-month stints and then back in the country for another 3? Did the people of West Pokot see you regularly in West Pokot?
Yes, they see me, and they remember, as a politician, one thing you have to do is you have to update the people what you're doing, because you cannot just be doing things and people are not aware of what you're doing. And we have to communicate to them. This is a problem we are solving. This is a problem we have. This is a problem we are solving. And until today, I think I've been very good, or we have been very good in terms of updating our people, including their elected representatives, which is the county assembly, to update them and tell them what we're doing, and this is where we are, and we're making achievements on this. And they stayed in touch, and we've kept them updated all this time. And that is why the people of West Pokot continue to be very supportive of my position as the deputy governor. Their elected representatives, the member of the county assembly, MCAs, continue to support me as well. And you've not had any complaint from the people of West Pokot saying that they think the deputy governor has not been helping or has not been doing his duties as they wanted.
Beautiful. So then who would call you absentee and why?
That's why the beauty of devolution. I say that's why it's beautiful to have a devolution, because different counties with different needs and different priorities. So you might see that somebody else from a different county, somebody else who does not know the priorities of West Pokot, somebody who might not even, I'm not saying they don't care so much, But if you ask the people of West Pokot, between me and them, who cares more for them, they'll obviously point at me and say, yeah, this is the guy who knows our needs. This is the person who knows what we need to do and is making the necessary sacrifice to make sure that we are moving forward. So I consider those outside noise, and that's expected in politics. And it's something that I'm willing to carry. I'm willing to sometimes go through...
it's a cross to bear.
I don't want to say close to unprofessional way of asking questions, even from the media. But my community is a priority. That's what I need to do more for them.
Dr. What you're basically saying is that you went there to work for your electorate.
Yes.
And you were going there to mobilize resources, to mobilize support, financial and all, for the benefit of the people of West Pokot.
Yes.
So if we were now to do a scorecard, how much were you able to raise directly from being there? How much kind of support were you able to mobilize?
If you go right now to Kapenguria Hospital, despite all the challenges we're having, you'll not find the same. Remember the beds I was talking about?
The wooden beds.
The wooden, supported by bricks and blocks.
Yeah.
You'll not find those ones. We've improved on that. If you look at the maternal mortality, we still have a challenge.
So what did you do? Did you get beds,
we were
or did
able
you
to get
money?
Beds, and not just beds. We were also able to get expertise, people to come and help us, including training on basic equipment like ultrasound. We got ultrasounds right now that we are helping, that I think is contributing to helping diagnose maternal or obstetric problems before time, and that in itself reduces maternal mortality. I also brought in friends who were coming periodically, and they're still coming. They're still going to come, except for this COVID season. It wasn't as frequent as it should have, for obvious reasons.
If you don't
If
you don't mind me just interrupting here, Dr. Harry, I'm just asking for, if you can give us, like, say, I was able to raise X amount of money which went into this particular project, or I was able to organize this number of medical camps where this number of doctors came and they attended X number of patients within this time. Something that people can actually hear and say, there's something that was happening.
Yes. So in terms of medical equipment, and it's something that I thought was in public domain, but I still have to talk about it. We were able to, if we were to monetize, but in terms of the medical equipment and supplies that I've mobilized all through this time, it's something that is most likely over 200 million Kenyan shillings. And that's ranging from the hospital beds, newborn incubators, ultrasound machines, other supplies and equipment necessary for taking good care of patients. And also in terms of human training, I've organized doctors visiting and coming to help from the United States for basic trainings. And like I said, focusing more on reducing maternal deaths. And there have been several of those. It's beyond count. And right now we've been able to grow that organically to where we have locals who can do that very well because they've learned from them.
So how many have been trained?
I would say in terms of basic use of ultrasound, almost all the doctors were there, yes.
There was, of course, the national government and the county governments signed a contract on the managed equipment scheme.
Yes.
Are some of this equipment part of the MES?
No, and we still have a challenge on that as well in terms of the training and the capacity that we have. But that has been also helpful in terms of the bigger hospitals, like the county and the sub-county, but it hasn't gone all the way. We still have challenge in terms of reading and interpretation of images, which I think at some point, if we are to work very well with the Ministry of Health, we can have a way of, we call it a PAC system, or where images can be transmitted and read from a centralized location, and that will serve very well the 47 counties to where we have accurate reading from, let's say, even Nairobi, and it serves all the counties, and we get very good reports in a timely way. So we still have a challenge on that, but it was a good step. It has helped, but we still need some more. We still have more to do.
I know City has a couple of questions that he wants to ask. Let's take a break first. It's not a breakfast.
Let's take a break
first.
Yes.
29 minutes after 9, Kenya's biggest conversation. Time for our break. With us is Dr. Nicholas Atudyang. He is the Deputy Governor of West Pokot County. He's here with us. He says the work that he's been doing while serving in the office of Deputy Governor over the last 4 years, and he wants to be the next governor to unseat his current boss. He'll tell us why, and he'll tell us what he's been able to do, plus also explaining to everybody whether he's been working or not, whether he's been earning a salary as a deputy governor or not, whether he's been attending meetings of the county executive committee or not, and other things. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Business news on SpiceFM. This is SpiceFM Business. I'm Dennis Aseto. Konza Technopolis Development Authority and Association of Startups and SME Enablers in Kenya have signed an agreement to enhance innovation and support startups in Kenya. Under the MOU, the two will jointly utilize existing innovation platforms, conduct innovation initiatives, and lobby for the development of innovation policies, starting with the Startup Bill, which is currently before the Senate. The residents of Kinango Ward in Kwale County are protesting both the timers' lack of fair share of employment in the 20 billion Kenya shillings Moche multipurpose dam. The residents have said the contractor Sino Hydro has failed to honor its promise of employing more locals in the construction of the dam, which was scheduled to commence last month. NCBA Group PLC has announced plans to open 12 new branches in the country this year as part of its expansion plans. The bank currently operates 84 branches following the opening of 13 new branches across Mombasa, Nyeri, Karatina, Ruiru, Bungoma, Embu, Kakamega, Kericho, Ngong, Naivasha and Kiambu in 2021. The group is also looking at regional opportunities, especially in emerging markets of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Ethiopia. India's aviation regulator has placed the country's fleet of Boeing 737 planes under enhanced surveillance after a jet crashed in China. It said it has sent out teams to monitor flight procedures, airworthiness, and operations. This after China Eastern Airlines Boeing 737-800 crashed in southern China with 132 people on board. The flight was traveling from Kunming to Guangzhou when it plunged to the ground and caught fire. And the National Treasury is seeking to raise 70 billion shillings from the domestic credit market through the sale of Treasury bonds in the month of April. The Central Bank of Kenya, which is the Exchequer's fiscal agent, has brought 2 new bonds to market, a 3-year paper seeking to raise 40 billion shillings and a new 15-year paper valued at 30 billion shillings. Yields on the 2 papers will be determined during the paper's auctions, which run to April 19th. For Spice Business, I'm Dennis Aseto.
Business news, keeping you up to date on all your money matters.
102.5 Spice
Cloudy conditions
FM.
in Nairobi at 20. Sun's coming out though. Highs of 26 and lows of 16. Partly sunny at 20 in Nakuru. Highs of 26 and lows of 14. We'll see lows of 14 as well in Nyeri, where it's cloudy at 18 and it'll go to highs of 26. At 21, Eldoret is mostly cloudy. Highs of 25 and lows of 15 today. And we're looking at light rain in parts of Mombasa at 31. It goes to highs of 33 and lows of 26. At 30, it's mostly sunny in Malindi. Highs of 33 and lows of 27. Kisumu was cloudy at 24, highs of 29 and lows of 20, while we're looking at mostly cloudy conditions at 25 in Kakamega, highs of 28 and lows of 17. Kampala remains sunny at 24, highs of 27 and lows of 18, and it's partly sunny at 29 in Dar es Salaam, highs of 32 and lows of 25. Johannesburg, mostly cloudy at 16, highs of 23 and lows of 13, while it's hazy in Lagos at 28, we'll see highs of 33. Mostly sunny at 26 in Kinshasa, highs of 34 and lows of 24 at 17. Beijing is sunny. Going into Monday evening, we'll see highs of 18 and lows of 10. It's sunny in Paris this morning at 7, highs of 22 and lows of 5, and cloudy at 5 in London. 17 will be the high and lows of 5 today. -2, still the dregs of winter in New York. We'll see highs of 0 and lows of -4.
Chilled Spice.
Still remains heavy in some parts. We're looking at North Airport Road heading out towards Outer Ring. A little bit of traffic here and there as you head in the general direction of the Thika Superhighway, where, by way of information, still really thick as you're getting to that junction. And then just past Survey out towards the Pangani underpass, traffic still continues. Chiremo still taking it heavy this morning, and we're going all the way through to the Wangari Maathai Way, and that still opens up into quite some traffic. Uhuru Highway from Haile Selassie Junction at the roundabout. We're going into the city and then out towards Westlands, still really heavy today, where there was no traffic on Raila Odinga Way getting to the roundabout at the City Mortuary. There is now, and Langata Road is looking a lot better. Just after the roundabout at Timor is where you have the last part of traffic. Jogo Road still continues hot and heavy, guys, heading out the way from Hamza out towards Landis Road. Still in traffic hour, ending late today, but through the morning, let's know what it looks like in your neck of the woods. Let's talk. SpiceFM, KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Are you ready? Okay. Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
25 minutes to 10. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. In the room is Eric Latiff, Okoh, CT Muga, and our guest, Dr. Nicholas Atudyang, the Deputy Governor of West Pokot County.
You know, what I've been hearing the Deputy Governor say is that the County of West Pokot have embraced technology, and they've embraced the communication mantra of the 21st century. Because if we can have university lessons that begin from start to the end, mostly online, where people actually don't meet physically. If you can have important corporate meetings, people don't meet physically, decisions are made, reports are written, life goes on. The question that then one asks is, why then can you conduct county business? Why can you not conduct county business online? Where one's physical presence is not absolutely necessary, and yet the business takes place. But alternate to what I'm saying, there's also what we know to be not just culturally acceptable, but what is the accepted political norm, that people want to see you physically. So is there a question? Is there a certain number of times that are absolutely necessary, or the push to have technology become the center of the conversation? Is it something that we must all embrace and say, you know something, so long as something is getting done, why do you need to see this person on a daily basis and they're actually doing what it is that they're supposed to actually do? Now, that's okay. Just. Oh, you want to say something about it? Please say something.
I want to say also that is true, but not for all the jobs or positions, and maybe you can also address a little bit on the role of deputy governors and what the Constitution says about the role of a deputy governor.
Why don't you tell us?
Kenyans have been talking about punguza mzigo, like we have too many officers or too many salaried people than we probably need. And sometimes maybe the role of deputy governor is very silent. And I'm sure most Kenyans sometimes they do not even know they're deputy governors. They're just there to take instructions, to get delegated, and just to be there in case there's a vacancy in the office. And so that is probably a role that one has to be silent. One can either be silent, or sometimes you have deputy governors who become disruptive. And the question that we want to ask Kenyans is which is a better deputy governor, the one who is silent and taking a backseat, or
the one who's constantly at loggerheads,
being out there, speaking very loudly, and sometimes being disruptive.
You know, I mentioned what I'm mentioning because sometimes I heard there was a note of defensiveness when you're explaining your situation, and I was thinking, but why do you need to be defensive when we're in the 21st century? COVID made us understand that there's a lot that was getting done and you didn't need to see the person physically, and yet it was getting done. But even more importantly, if you say that even as you went for further studies, you had an underlying understanding that you needed to understand how you could mobilize resources for your county, I see absolutely nothing wrong with that understanding, because at the end of the day, there's a limit to what, despite health being a devolved function, there's a limit to what the budget that is offered to every county could do. Your county has how many constituencies? 4.
4, yeah.
Exactly. Now, the question I want to ask is, given this background, what was the health situation that you found when you came in?
Mm-hmm.
As in, how many hospitals were there in these constituencies? What was the state in terms of the capacity of the beds, capacity of equipment? And now that we are talking several years down the line, what exactly is that situation? Because then that paints a clear picture of whether it is that your mission and that you set out to do was actually successful or not.
So I think you've asked a very important question about online. Can so much be achieved online?
Yes.
Can we work from home? And why, at this point, even I'm becoming defensive. I think it's just the nature of our Kenyan politics, where we almost have bipolar in terms of they'll tell you this is
good doctor.
They'll tell you this is what we need, but if you do exactly what they say they need, they find a way of finding fault and saying, no, that is not what we need. And that's why I brought this point of punguza mzigo. They say we don't want too many offices. We don't want people just there to get salary and read newspapers. We'd rather have none of those and have 20, 30, 40 youth who really need a job and they can take the salary. If you do exactly that, they come back and say, no, that's not what we want. we want you to be here.
We need a deputy governor.
We want you to be here
every day.
We want you to be here. We want you to earn that salary, and we want your office looking like it's a deputy governor's office, spending a lot of money.
Who's saying this?
That's why the term absentee is coming in.
But from whom?
I mean, maybe even prominent from the public and even some prominent
but
people
not
in the
within
media.
the county.
Not within the county.
Okay.
The people in the county, they're very happy.
Okay.
But like I've always pointed out this one to the people of West Pokot, the cost of running an office of the deputy governor, starting from morning time, the drive itself, maintenance of the vehicle, just basic running of a deputy governor's office. If we were to look at the budget or quantify, you're looking anything between 50 million to 100 million a year, financial year. If you go to a marginalized county like West Pokot, would it be better to just have a deputy governor visiting people and being around there with people? And like I said, sometimes deputy governors or deputy anything could be even disruptive or having a different political stand from the boss, and they're still going to run that office using public resources. Would it be better to have that office getting that much money, or would it be better to get that 100 million and say, let's allocate it to the bursary fund so we have more kids completing school, more people going to college without difficulty? And so that's the balancing.
Are you saying that this is what happened with your office?
Exactly. I would say, and I can say this very categorically, the cost of running the office of the Deputy Governor of West Pokot is the cheapest or is the lowest of all the counties. No doubt.
Right.
Did you draw a salary?
Not at all. When it came to the point where there was so much noise about why are you doing this, and we looked at the bigger picture of the people and said, okay, we are serving the people. And at the time, my boss was very categorical, like, look, it's bringing more to us, and we are making a lot more advancement than if we was just here. And the salary compared to what we are trying to achieve is not much. If we can, and that's something that I actually agreed and accepted, that if we can make a small sacrifice as a person and still achieve so much more for the community and take away the political noise, like I've told you, there's the balancing act of we need this, but again, we give them this, no, we need something different. Then it's okay for me not to earn salary.
So at what point did you stop earning salary?
I remember very early in the stages when we got into office, maybe a few months after that. After 2017.
Was this made official?
Yes.
So at no point shall we have Dr. Atudyang coming to say, but I am owed.
No, at no point. And you can go into the county offices, confirm that for yourself. It has been like that.
You know why this issue is of importance, and I'm going back to your 4 constituencies, and the state of the health facilities and the health provision and the services provided, the state in which you found it, and the state it's in now.
Okay, so let me address health in the bigger picture.
Okay.
So the health of a population or any community, it's a bigger. It's not just the curative. It's not what you cure at that time. It starts from the economic status of the people, the education of the population, because one of the things that we are still wondering is why is it we're having too many people dying of cancer at this time. But pictures a population where everybody knows that if we go for checkup at this point, we can catch these things early and prevent, or if we do the necessary preventative measures, avoid smoking cigarette and all that, we can prevent that. So as a physician, I don't look at health care in terms of how much do we cure, but if we can cure poverty, if we can cure education problem, if we can get our population more educated, then we'll have fewer problems. If we can get the society a more organized society, like we have a problem with motorcycle accidents right now. If you go to most of the beds right now, they're occupied by people who who got into a motor vehicle or motorcycle accidents. If we can address from that end, then that leaves us with a small problem of now trying to treat or cure those who have come to the hospital. And I can guarantee you that we have made improvement as West Pokot in terms of the 4 constituencies, the sub-county hospitals. They're more equipped right now than when we got them. And the referral hospital, the county hospital, is in a better position or in a better shape in terms of equipment, training of the individuals, of the staff, and in terms of the capacity, like how many people can we see than when we got at the time. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at what you, according to what you've said, have been able to do. If we extrapolate this to other deputy governors in the county, the remaining 46, right?
Yes.
Do you then think it is absolutely necessary to have that position in the county governments if they can run these roles, as you have said, not necessarily being physically there?
I don't want to question the intelligence of those who drafted the Constitution. And also remember, this is a process that went through referendum and public participation and referendum, and so it's a collective decision of the people of the Republic of Kenya. And I have no doubt that we are smart people. We made that decision that there should be this constitutional office. And also it was very specific that the role of the deputy governor, and I'm not so sure about the deputy president, is to be delegated duties from the boss or the governor or the president, for that matter.
Same thing.
So if we know very well that every county or every or the republic, they have different needs. So I think it's not to be a question of one size fits all. Let every county see how well they can run their affairs, still within the confines of the Constitution. Yeah. So I don't want to take away from each county and say this Nairobi County, you don't need this, or what is good for Nairobi County is good for West Pokot County. We should all allow counties to do what they see it's their priority or what works best for them, but still within the confines of the Constitution.
Okay, so there were several things that you did and that continue to do as deputy governor, even though not entirely present.
But I'm president right now, so
no, I'm talking. Let's look at history. Let's look at beyond today. Certain things that you were able to do while not present, which you have on the ground, which you have said already this morning. So my question being, now, when you speak of now wanting to go into the position of governor, have those things which you were doing as deputy and not being present then changed? And obviously this is a seat that would require you to be on the ground. So would you then change in terms of your position?
Yeah, in terms of being on the ground, that's for sure. Like I said the other day, the Pokot people, the elders, through their wisdom and the collective responsibility, decided to request me to be community's spokesman, and that's something that I accepted. And I know that means I have to be listening to them more and being more available and ready to listen and to speak for them. The reason I'm going for the top seat or the governor's position is also because of the demand or people's request. I mean, nobody will just want to run for that position if you don't have the backing of the people. And leaders come, they do very well sometimes, but sometimes they do even very well to where they go and they lead themselves rather than lead the people. And that's what happened in my county. And my boss decided not to listen to the people and decided to make his decisions that didn't go well with the people, formed his small outfit, a small political party. And we in Kanu, remember Kanu, we always used to say, msigawanyike kwa misingi ya kikabila. Multi-party democracy tulisema is good, but it's also good you continue to remain together as a country. And even when many people are pushing for multi-party before its rightful time, we, Kanu, kept the country together. I equate it to like delivering a baby. Some people wanted the baby delivered before time, but we said no, the country will disintegrate. Mtagawanyika kwa misingi ya kikabila, kaeni kidogo. And then when the time was right, we said, well, multi-party comes in. Here is multi-party. Let's nurture this baby, grow multi-party, and where we have parties, but that reflect the dreams and also that bring people together, not just tribal parties. And I'm seeing the country is going that direction. People are going into coalition agreements. They realize we have to come together. So when the people of West Pokot said, well, we are going to continue with that nurturing of democracy by remaining true to the rest of the country and remaining in Kanu, the people decided, well, they need a Kanu governor candidate, and that's where I came in.
Excellency, there's something I want to understand about the community you come from. We've had communities, we know this happens in the northern part of the country. We also know that you hear this in, well, many parts of the country where the elders hold sway. Meaning, that's why I refer to it as a guided democracy. You have a democracy, but at the end of the day, the leaders, the elders more or less determine who they think ought to be their leader, and the rest of the community follows suit. So you're saying that the community you come from in West Pokot are such a community, where it is the elders who more or less determine who they think is the appropriate leader.
Yes, because this is not just something that, remember the community has existed for hundreds and hundreds of years. And elective positions is not just a competitive position, but it's who the community believe they reflect or can carry their aspirations and also will be able to address the needs they have for this time. So It's not just the elders, but the elders, the youth, and the collective responsibility of the people coming together.
But whose voice is listened to most?
Of course, we still listen to the elders the most. And the reason is obvious reasons. They do have the experience. They have seen a lot through the years, and they know the ways that have worked well for them. And one of the reasons Pokots have remained in Kanu, despite so many other people, including Rift Valley, maybe not impressing Kanu as it is because the people of West Pokot, they know Kanu has been the government that worked well for them. And not very well, but at least they know it kept the country together. And that's why we continue to be in Kanu.
So now the community, as you say, has decided that because they support Kanu, they need to have a Kanu candidate in the gubernatorial race.
Correct.
And that's where now the fallout with Professor Lonyangapuo began. Between you and Professor Lonyangapuo.
There were other issues, but that's one of them, correct.
What are the other issues?
It's the way one would look at things and saying, maybe we need to move a little bit faster to the 21st century, where we embrace systems, where we do more of a better teamwork, and where we have more transparency, and where we do not have one man deciding or one man show. And that way we can bring in professionalism and help to make things faster to where Pokots can catch up with the rest of the Kenyans. And also in terms of fighting corruption, because that's the biggest problem that we face at this time. The old politics of corruption, lack of transparency is maybe what was the biggest disconnect between me and the boss. Having impressed this where we allow systems to work. If, let's say, you have a hospital management, you let them do their work based on merit and based on experience without political interference, because that's what gives us the best outcome. But if you politicize everything and wanting to control everything, micromanage, it doesn't always work very well. And that's something that I was taken aback a little bit, because I didn't expect that going into the office.
When you look at the incidences of insecurity in your region, they have been persistent for very many years, even in the Kanu years, even now. What is it that you think ought to be done to finally pacify this region?
Everything boils back to the education and empowerment of the population. Because I believe if you educate a child, if you show them there are more options to living or to life than herding cows and maybe risking their life, they're not going to. Humankind always wants to pursue happiness and better life. So, if and this is something that if the country at some point, or the top leadership of the country, can listen to us, if you improve the schools, if you can hire all the teachers who are trained from the local area, instead of bringing teachers who we know they are not going to stay there for long, but you employ locals, because we have so many of them who have completed universities or teachers training college, but they don't have the job. If you can get that done and have a lot of teachers there, that will improve the situation. Also bringing services closer to the people, increase the number of administrative units, like the sub-locations where you have so many chiefs, sub-chiefs, and then other services, Minister of Water, bring water to the people. But overall, I think educating the population is going to be more helpful than all these other things.
Asante sana for speaking to us on that. His Excellency Dr. Nicholas Atudyang is the Deputy Governor of West Pokot County. He wants to unseat the boss, Professor John Lonyangapuo, in the forthcoming general election. He says the people of West Pokot ni watu ya KANU. Na watu ya KANU wameinua kidole moja wakasema chama ni moja, mtu ni moja. All the best as you go into campaigns and hope to see you again soon.
Yeah. Thank you. Asante nimeshukuru. Asante sana.
City, tell us about the proverb.
Yes, if you always walk down the same path, you will go where you've always been. His Excellency clearly has decided he's walking along that same path. He's choosing a different path altogether. Yes.
Safi kabisa. Let's talk about Sipladun as we conclude.
Indeed, not to forget that there's ways to manage your pain, CT. Whether it's a headache, that included 500 mg aspartame laced, or Neutral, 1,000 mg at all your good pharmacies and Chandarana supermarkets. Not to forget, if symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Sipladun.
Asante
sana. Keep it here for more coming up on SpiceFM throughout the day. Interesting music and conversations. And also we'll be back here tomorrow morning from 6 a.m. Have a lovely day. It's 10 o'clock.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire Dennis Aseto. The 1.2 million candidates who sat for the 2021 KCPE exams will know their results this week. Education CS Professor George Muga last week announced that the marking exercise had been completed and the results would be officially released either today or tomorrow. Muga said the release of the results would depend on President Uhuru Kenyatta's schedule, who must receive the results before they are released to the public. Over 1.2 million students sat the 2021 KCPE exams as compared to 1.2 million candidates in 2020. Newswire following up in this, and in case we get any information, we will give it to you in our subsequent bulletins. Now, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya has castigated MPs for their constant criticism of the government over skyrocketing fertilizer prices that are threatening to compound food security concerns. Munya said the state was not to blame for the soaring prices, noting that the problem was global and occasioned by the war in Ukraine and Russia that has affected the export of the commodity, given that the two countries are the lead exporters. He asked legislators to stop playing politics with the issue and instead do the due diligence of appropriating funds for fertilizer subsidies in Parliament in a bid to lower the cost of commodities and save the country from imminent food shortage. Now, Lamu Governor Fahim Toha has expressed confidence that the Jubilee Party will carry the day in his region. Coast region has for a very